Chapter 1354. After killing the twin-headed snake, Teng Ao also knew who was secretly spying on him, because when he used the 7-kill divine Tao to kill the twin-headed snake, the powerful soul remembrance that was secretly spying on him had clearly fluctuated. If Teng Ao couldn't detect such an obvious soul remembrance fluctuation, then Teng Ao would be letting down his 9 Dragon Emperor's jade body. The one who had been spying on him from the beginning was none other than Shi Tianyun, the old guy at the Muddy Sky Realm. Although Shi Tianyun looked like a young master on the surface, Teng Ao knew that being able to cultivate to the Muddy Sky Realm, he was definitely an old monster that had lived for tens of thousands of years. After all, in his previous life, Teng Ao had used thousands of years to cultivate to the peak of astral reaching realm 9th level. However, nothing was absolute. No matter what, there would always be people that exceeded common sense. Teng Ao waved his hand, and the green lotus orb that was staring at the twin-headed snake returned to Teng Ao's side. Immediately after, Teng Ao cautiously walked toward the twin-headed snake. Although both of the snake's heads had been chopped off, Teng Ao still didn't dare to be careless. Snake-type demonic beasts were either extremely stupid or frighteningly cunning. The twin-headed snake in front of him was clearly the latter. Just as Teng Ao cautiously approached the twin-headed snake, the left head of the twin-headed snake slowly opened its eyes. At the same time, a red light flickered in its triangular eyes. Teng Ao's soul remembrance had been paying attention to the twin-headed snake, but Teng Ao didn't notice the subtle change in the twin-headed snake's eyes. Teng Ao directly arrived in front of the twin-headed snake. After confirming that it was indeed dead, Teng Ao let out a sigh of relief. However, at such a close distance, Teng Ao still didn't notice the change in the twin-headed snake's eyes. This wasn't because Teng Ao's soul remembrance wasn't good, but because Teng Ao had been careless this time. After confirming that the twin-headed snake was dead, Teng Ao relaxed his vigilance. In the Evergreen Valley, 100 miles away from Qingyun Village, there was a valley with rising purple clouds. There was a waterfall in the canyon, but the water in the waterfall was not crystal clear. Instead, it was a strange purple color. There were no plants or demonic beasts around the canyon. Under the purple waterfall, there was a huge figure. This figure was as tall as a 3-story building. It was a giant serpent with 5 heads. At this moment, its lantern-like eyes were filled with rage. The reason for his anger was that his favorite son had actually been killed by a lowly human. Through a flash of red light, the blazing 5-headed snake saw the person who killed its child. It was a pitiful warrior with a weak cultivation level. If he wasn't trapped by Divine King Meteorite's Dharma treasure, Long Qing Shan, it would only need to blow a mouthful of air to crush this weak warrior. Unfortunately, Divine King Falling Star's Evergreen Mountain was too powerful. Only those below the Origin Martial Realm wouldn't be suppressed by it. Those weak humans only knew that this was a place to search for treasures, but they didn't know that the Evergreen Mountain itself was an extremely powerful treasure. In Qingyun Village, after Teng Ao confirmed that the twin-headed snake was dead, he put the twin-headed snake into a storage ring. This twin-headed snake was killed by Teng Ao, so the surrounding people didn't say anything. Everyone knew that a 7th-stage body refining realm twin-headed snake was full of treasures. However, they weren't so greedy. Chapter 1355. With such a good start, it would be much easier to clean up the remaining monster beasts in the village. Because Teng Ao had single-handedly killed a body refining realm 7th level twin-headed snake in front of everyone, everyone believed that as long as the demonic beasts did not exceed the 7th level, Teng Ao would be able to deal with them. When the beast tide erupted, the grade of the demonic beasts that attacked the village was not very high. It was just that there were too many of them that caused Qingyun Village to suffer heavy casualties. Now that the beast tide had retreated, the demonic beasts that were still wandering in the village were naturally not that strong. After the twin-headed snake, Teng Ao did not encounter any other decent demonic beasts. Basically, there were some weak demonic beasts at the first or second level of the body refining realm, and a small number of demonic beasts at the fourth or fifth level. Whenever they encountered these demonic beasts, Tang Ao would stand by the side and let Situ Qianqian deal with them. Although Situ Qianqian was at the fifth level of the body refining realm, Situ Qianqian's combat experience was like a blank piece of paper. When dealing with demonic beasts at the first or second level of the body refining realm, Situ Qianqian could easily deal with them due to the difference in cultivation level. However, when dealing with demonic beasts at the fourth level of the body refining realm, Situ Qianqian would find it difficult. However, after a series of bitter battles, Situ Qianqian would still be able to win every time. But this time, Situ Qianqian had clearly encountered the biggest challenge. At this moment, in front of Situ Qianqian was a body refining realm 5th level Cretaceous beast. The Cretaceous beast's body was covered in a layer of dense scales, causing its defense to be very terrifying. This Cretaceous beast was like a huge white gorilla, and its eyes were spitting fire as it stared at Situ Qianqian in front of it. If it was in the past, Situ Qianqian would have long been scared silly. At this moment, even with Tang Ao at the side to support Situ Qianqian was still very nervous. Situ Qianqian's entire body was trembling slightly. She turned her head timidly and said, "Senior brother Tang Ao, I'm a little scared." But after Situ Qianqian finished speaking, she discovered that Tang Ao, who had been following behind her, had actually disappeared at this moment. Situ Qianqian only felt a buzz in her head. Situ Qianqian really couldn't understand why Tang Ao suddenly disappeared. In fact, Tang Ao didn't go far. At this moment, Tang Ao leaned against a thick tree and watched the battle between Situ Qianqian and the Cretaceous beast. Although there were many good seedlings among the village guards, who knew how long it would take to train them to be of use. Moreover, compared to Situ Qianqian, none of them had a better martial Dao talent than her. Tang Ao had helped Situ Qianqian investigate carefully. Therefore, Tang Ao knew that with Situ Qianqian's talent in dancing, even in the 7 Kills sect, she would be a core disciple. Therefore, Tang Ao decided to properly nurture Situ Qianqian. Tang Ao was very dissatisfied with Situ Qianqian's previous performance. How cruel was the world of martial arts! Situ Qianqian couldn't even kill a monstrous beast that was a level lower than her. If she encountered a monstrous beast that was stronger than her, then she could only wait for death. Therefore, this time, Tang Ao wanted to stimulate Situ Qianqian's potential and let her deal with this Cretaceous beast alone. Of course, to prevent any accidents from happening, Tang Ao didn't go too far away. At this moment, Tang Ao's position was just enough to avoid Situ Qianqian's soul remembrance detection. However, Tang Ao's soul remembrance could clearly capture the fight between Situ Qianqian and the Cretaceous beast. The Cretaceous beast was a very aggressive demonic beast. Therefore, it didn't give Situ Qianqian any time to react. The Cretaceous beast used its hands and feet to charge at Situ Qianqian. Chapter 1356. Seeing Situ Qianqian like this, Tang Ao could not bear to see her like this. But Tang Ao also understood that a flower growing in a greenhouse would not be able to withstand the wind and frost. Thus, this time, Situ Qianqian had to rely on herself to complete the training in order to truly grow. Otherwise, if Situ Qianqian was this afraid every time, not only would she not be able to display her true strength in future battles, but she would also become a burden to everyone. Situ Qianqian looked around and did not find any traces of Tang Ao. Situ Qianqian gradually calmed down. She knew that Tang Ao was definitely in the vicinity. With her understanding of Tang Ao, Situ Qianqian knew that Tang Ao would definitely not leave her behind. This situation was most likely used by Tang Ao to train her. Actually, in Situ Qianqian's heart, she had long wanted to have this kind of training. It was just that previously, whether it was Uncle Zhongshan, senior brother Lin Hu, or a few other senior brothers, They all treated her like a little sister and took care of her no matter what. When they encountered some battles, they tried to avoid letting her participate. Under everyone's care, Situ Qianqian did not even have much battle experience and had cultivated to the 5th level of the body, refining realm. It was also because of this that Situ Qianqian's current battle experience was a blank. When she encountered a strong demonic beast, she would also be extremely nervous. Roar! Just as Situ Qianqian was thinking about these things, a heaven-shaking roar of a beast rushed out from the dusty fog. A huge palm directly slapped toward the top of Situ Qianqian's head. Seeing this scene, traces of green light appeared in Tang Ao's hand. If Situ Qianqian did not take any measures, Tang Ao could only take the initiative and use the green lotus sword soul to kill this Cretaceous beast. But this way, he would not be able to achieve the goal of training Situ Qianqian. Although the Cretaceous beast looked extremely fierce, it was a very suitable demonic beast for sparring. This was because the Cretaceous beast did not use any martial techniques to attack. It directly relied on its brute force. Moreover, the Cretaceous beast's intelligence was very low and did not have any tricks. It could be said that as long as it was a normal martial artist at the 5th level of the body refining realm, there was no reason for them to lose to the Cretaceous beast. It was just that Tang Ao saw Situ Qianqian's situation. Situ Qianqian was clearly a prodigy among the 5th level of the body refining realm. Seeing the Cretaceous beast's big hand coming towards her, Situ Qianqian was actually scared silly. After hesitating for half a second, Situ Qianqian rolled on the ground in front of Tang Ao's horrified expression, once again dodging the Cretaceous beast's attack. Seeing Situ Qianqian awkwardly dodging the attacks of the Cretaceous beasts, Tang Ao had already decided that after clearing the remaining monstrous beasts in Qingyan village, he would personally teach Situ Qianqian a set of graceful movement techniques. Otherwise, if a beautiful young lady like Situ Qianqian were to roll on the ground every time she fought with someone, it would affect her image too much. However, Tang Ao had to admit that Situ Qianqian's roll on the ground was very useful in this situation. The Cretaceous beast's moves were very fierce and overbearing. If Situ Qianqian and the Cretaceous beast fought head-on, Situ Qianqian would obviously not be the opponent of the Cretaceous beast. However, after Situ Qianqian nimbly dodged, the Cretaceous beast's attack hit empty air. However, this time, the Cretaceous beast did not give Situ Qianqian a chance to breathe. Situ Qianqian had just stood up when the Cretaceous beast suddenly rushed towards Situ Qianqian with the pressure of Mount Tai. Chapter 1357. Tang Ao knew that Situ Qianqian's spirit root was a pure fire spirit root, but when he saw a martial artist with a pure fire spirit root, using the most basic fire attribute martial technique, the fireball technique, to such an extent, Tang Ao felt despair. Normally, even if it was a martial artist without a fire spirit root, after cultivating to the 5th layer of the body refining realm, it would not be a problem to release a basin-sized fireball. But now, Situ Qianqian, who had a pure fire spirit root, could only release a small fireball the size of a fist when she used a fire attribute martial technique. What made Tang Ao even more speechless was that after releasing this small fireball, Situ Qianqian looked at her hand in surprise, as if this was the first time she used the fireball technique. However, what Tang Ao did not know was that this was the first time Situ Qianqian had successfully used the fireball technique. In the past, when Situ Qianqian used the fireball technique, she could only release some sparks, but this time, under the pressure of danger, she actually released a small fireball, which made Situ Qianqian excited. At the same time, Situ Qianqian also knew that if she wanted to become an alchemist, condensing a pill fire was necessary. And the first step to condensing a pill fire was to be able to release the fireball technique. Before, Situ Qianqian had been practicing, but she had never succeeded. Seeing the flame in Situ Qianqian's hand flying over, the Cretaceous beast also hesitated. Then, When the Cretaceous beast was considering whether to dodge, Situ Qianqian's fireball suddenly exploded on its body. What made Tang Ao and the Cretaceous beast not know whether to laugh or cry was that after Situ Qianqian's small fireball exploded on the Cretaceous beast, it seemed to have completed its final mission. Not only did it not continue to burn, but it was extinguished instantly. Seeing such a scene, Tang Ao did not want to speak anymore, because Tang Ao was really speechless about this girl Situ Qianqian. However, what made Tang Ao slightly gratified was that Situ Qianqian took advantage of the time when the Cretaceous beast was stunned and immediately jumped back, pulling away from the Cretaceous beast. Then, Situ Qianqian put her hands together and a hot aura brewed on Situ Qianqian's hands. Situ Qianqian gathered essence while recalling the feeling of releasing the small fireball. After that, Situ Qianqian condensed her essence for a while and suddenly pushed. This time, a fireball the size of a wash basin flew towards the Cretaceous beast like a cannonball. This attack was extremely fast. Tang Ao only saw a flash of red light in front, and the body of the Cretaceous beast burst into flames. Tang Ao was slightly surprised. He did not expect Situ Qianqian to grow so fast. In Situ Feng, Tang Ao and Beast Qianqian Qin Ao, Master of Chun. Of Q, Chun Ao, Qin, and suddenly Qian Qian of Qian technique. Charming, Qian S was Qian. Tang Ao is. Root in Tang, Qian is King S spirit, spirit. Spirit QQ spirit is spirit of QQ has. In fact, when Situ Qianqian saw that she blasted out such a big fireball and hit the Cretaceous beast, she regretted it. However, regret was useless, so Situ Qianqian could only focus on the battle. After being hit by Situ Qianqian's fireball, the Cretaceous beast was also annoyed. With a roar, the Cretaceous beast continued to charge at Situ Qianqian. Chapter 1358. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao's interest was piqued. This was because Tang Ao couldn't understand what Situ Qianqian was doing now. However, Tang Ao understood that Situ Qianqian must have her own reasons for doing this. It was just that at this moment, Tang Ao didn't know what Situ Qianqian's intention was. Therefore, Tang Ao could only watch patiently. In case Situ Qianqian went overboard, Tang Ao could save her in time. Don't look at how Tang Ao and this Cretaceous beast were only at the 5th level of the body refining realm, but Tang Ao really didn't see the Cretaceous beast as his opponent. As long as Tang Ao was willing, Tang Ao could instantly kill this Cretaceous beast. As for Situ Qianqian, who was also at the 5th level of the body refining realm, she was much inferior. At this time, Situ Qianqian was still being chased by the Cretaceous beast. However, around Situ Qianqian's body, the number of apple-sized fireballs was increasing. Now, Situ Qianqian had 13 small fireballs the size of an apple floating around her. At this level, the power of Situ Qianqian's pure fire spirit root was also reflected. If a martial artist didn't have a pure fire spirit root, it would be difficult to reach such a level of affinity and control of flames. Now, Situ Qianqian was running away while condensing fireballs. She could also control these floating fireballs behind her. From this, the horror of a martial artist with a pure fire spirit root could be seen. However, after condensing so many fireballs in a row, Situ Qianqian still didn't have any intention of stopping. Although she was a little out of breath, Situ Qianqian was still running around. The Cretaceous beast naturally followed behind Situ Qianqian. Finally, after Situ Qianqian successfully condensed 36 small fireballs, Tang Ao saw Situ Qianqian suddenly turn around and stop. Then Situ Qianqian's hand seals changed, and then Tang Ao saw the floating fireballs around Situ Qianqian fuse together 3 by 3. From the size of an apple, it directly became the size of a watermelon. However, this was not the end. Situ Qianqian gritted her teeth and continued to fuse the remaining 12 fireballs. It didn't take long for Situ Qianqian to fuse the 12 watermelon-sized fireballs into 3 millstone-sized fireballs. When Tang Ao saw this, he secretly sighed in admiration. Although Situ Qianqian did not have much combat experience, her little brain was still very nimble. Facing these 3 millstone-sized fireballs, the Cretaceous beast was a little afraid. However, the aggressive Cretaceous beast still maintained its excellent quality of never retreating. Therefore, after a roar, the Cretaceous beast charged towards Situ Qianqian. This time, the Cretaceous beast seemed to have burst out its potential. Its running speed was as fast as lightning, and only a white shadow could be seen moving. After Situ Qianqian condensed the fireball to such a large degree, it was very difficult to control. It was obviously impossible to lock onto the Cretaceous beast like before. Seeing the galloping Cretaceous beast, Situ Qianqian didn't hesitate too much and threw the huge fireball in front of the Cretaceous beast. After seeing Situ Qianqian make a move, Tang Ao shook his head helplessly. Tang Ao certainly saw the dilemma that Situ Qianqian was facing at the moment, but Tang Ao wanted to say that doing so would not help at all. The real way should be to wait for the Cretaceous beast to approach before attacking. Chapter 1359. However, this was Situ Qianqian's first time facing a 5th-level body refinement realm demonic beast alone. Being able to do this was already very good. As Tang Ao expected, Situ Qianqian's prediction didn't have any effect. When the Cretaceous beast saw Situ Qianqian's fireball attack, it didn't retreat, but instead advanced. Instead, it suddenly doubled its speed and easily dodged Situ Qianqian's explosive fireball. Hong long long. Situ Qianqian's fireball smashed into an enormous rock. The terrifying explosion instantly blew the rock to pieces. The flying rocks even quickly flew into Tang Ao's face. Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Situ Qianqian's attack's power wasn't bad, but her control was too poor. If this martial technique wanted to hit the opponent, it would only be effective if the opponent was standing still or if the opponent was very close. However, martial artists were craftier than the last. Compared to the stupid Cretaceous beast, there was simply no comparison. If Situ Qianqian fought a martial artist, Tang Ao believed that other than those extremely confident martial artists, no one would give Situ Qianqian the chance to condense and fuse fireballs. Just as Tang Ao was thinking this, Situ Qianqian attacked again. This time, Situ Qianqian still believed in her mysterious prediction. In the path the Cretaceous beast had to take, she once again threw out a millstone-sized fireball. Although it still couldn't be accurately controlled, it was much better than last time. If Situ Qianqian's soul remembrance was as powerful as Tang Ao's, this attack could even forcefully control the fireball and hit the charging Cretaceous beast. Unfortunately, Situ Qianqian's soul remembrance was still a long way from Tang Ao's. Thus, Situ Qianqian's attack failed again. However, before Tang Ao could sigh, Tang Ao shockingly discovered that while the Cretaceous beast was dodging the fireball, Situ Qianqian was personally holding the last fireball in her hand and chasing after the Cretaceous beast. Then, in front of the Cretaceous beast's horrified expression, Situ Qianqian suddenly pushed out the huge fireball in her hand, then leaped into the air and retreated out of the range of the fireball explosion. Well done! Tang Ao secretly praised in his heart. Originally, Tang Ao thought that he would have to help Situ Qianqian clean up the mess, but Tang Ao never expected that Situ Qianqian would make such a move at the last moment. This attack was beyond Tang Ao's expectations. The stupid Cretaceous beast was naturally unprepared and couldn't dodge it. In the intense explosion, Situ Qianqian was so tired that she sat on the ground. At this moment, Situ Qianqian felt as though all the energy in her body had been sucked dry. Now that she had stopped, Situ Qianqian was shocked to discover that she had nearly used up all the energy in her body. This was the first time Situ Qianqian had felt her yuan qi being depleted. Tang Ao was very satisfied with Situ Qianqian's move, but what made Tang Ao helpless was that this Cretaceous beast's life was too tough. Even after taking a millstone-sized fireball head-on, this Cretaceous beast didn't completely die. However, the Cretaceous beast's injuries were extremely heavy. Even if it wasn't completely dead, it wouldn't be able to live. Just as Tang Ao was about to make another move, a silhouette wearing embroidered clothes suddenly jumped down from a distant cliff. Soon after, this young martial artist slammed a palm into the Cretaceous beast. The still struggling Cretaceous beast was instantly killed by this palm. After this embroidered, clothed young man killed this Cretaceous beast, he unceremoniously stored the Cretaceous beast in his storage ring. Chapter 1360. This friend, take these gold coins and drink some wine. After who saw Tang Ao, he was stunned at first, but then he reacted. Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian should have some relationship. However, who felt that the relationship between the two was definitely not very close. Otherwise, Tang Ao would not have watched Situ Qianqian and the Cretaceous beast from the sidelines. In the Hidden Dragon Cave, there were many beautiful martial artists, but these beautiful martial artists were divided into two types. One type was powerful, and no one dared to find trouble with them. There was also a type of beautiful female martial artists who were the playthings of some powerhouses. No one could touch them. Therefore, the female martial artists that who could usually come into contact with were all mediocre beauties that he looked down on. When he passed by Qingyan village this time, he happened to find someone fighting with the Cretaceous beast. Who originally wanted to steal the sheep and run away. But after snatching the Cretaceous beast, who found that this girl was really beautiful. Although Situ Qianqian was still young and had not yet shed the innocence of a young girl, who still liked this kind of ignorant girl. Pada, the money bag that who threw at Tang Ao fell to the ground, and a few shiny gold coins rolled out of the mouth of the money bag. Seeing this scene, who's face also became gloomy. Originally, he was going to give Tang Ao a way out, but now Tang Ao seemed to be shameless. Get lost. Just when who was about to speak, Tang Ao said in a cold voice. Now, there were many things to do in Qingyan village. At this juncture, Tang Ao really didn't want to be involved. Otherwise, if someone like who was offended by Tang Ao, it would be impossible for him to leave. As for the Cretaceous beast that who took away, Tang Ao didn't care. Because if Tang Ao insisted on asking for the Cretaceous beast, there would be another fierce battle between the two sides. Tang Ao did not place who was at the 5th tier of the body refining realm, in his eyes. However, Tang Ao could clearly sense that there was another person on the cliff that who had just jumped off. This person looked similar to who, but the similarity was not very high. In this case, they were most likely half-brothers. Tang Ao didn't put who in his eyes, but Tang Ao didn't intend to provoke the indifferent youth on the cliff. This was because this person was shockingly a martial artist at the 7th level of the body, refining realm. If Tang Ao wanted to, Tang Ao could instantly kill who. But once that happened, the martial artist on the cliff would definitely not let it go. Now that Tang Ao was busy, he naturally didn't have the mood to care about these things. However, who didn't think this way. Seeing that Tang Ao didn't ask him for the Cretaceous beast and only urged him to leave, who thought to himself that although they were both at the 5th level of the body refining realm, who was still a little famous. This Tang Ao was obviously afraid of him, so he pretended to be calm and wanted him to leave. After thinking of this, who sneered and looked greedily at Situ Qianqian. Immediately, who took a step and walked towards Situ Qianqian and Tang Ao. who stared coldly at Tang Ao and said, "You have guts. You actually dare to tell your grandpa to get lost." At the same time, who released a blood demon life soul. After seeing this life soul, Tang Ao's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. Chapter 1361. Although Tang Ao had never awakened the blood demon life soul, Tang Ao had the heavens divination record that could clearly understand the mysteries of life souls. Therefore, Tang Ao knew most life souls very well. Normally, even if Shur had awakened the blood demon life soul at the first stage of the body refinement realm, his blood demon life soul would at most reach the 4th or 5th firmament with his current cultivation level at the 5th stage of the body refinement realm. However, Shur's blood demon life soul was neither at the 4th firmament nor the 5th firmament, but at the 11th firmament. This was very intriguing. However, from the modeled aura of Shur's blood demon, Tang Ao could guess that Shur's blood demon life soul had not only devoured Shur's blood, but also the blood of others. Senior brother Tang Ao. Sensing the powerful aura of Shur's blood demon life soul, Situ Qianqian moved closer to Tang Ao. This was because the blood demon life soul's aura was too cold, and its appearance was terrifying. Situ Qianqian was a little afraid as she looked at the approaching Shur. At that moment, the blood demon life soul walked quietly in front of Shur. Its entire body was rolling like a blood man, making it look extremely terrifying. Tang Ao reached out and patted Situ Qianqian's back slightly. Then, a silver beam appeared in his hand as Tang Ao released the 100 battle spear soul. A gentle breeze blew, stirring the long hair on Tang Ao's forehead. Beneath the long hair was a pair of abnormally cold eyes. Tang Ao didn't want to cause trouble, but Tang Ao was definitely not afraid of it. Since Shur insisted on causing trouble, Tang Ao would definitely accompany him to the end. Shur's 11th firmament blood demon life soul was good enough to scare an innocent girl like Situ Qianqian, but to scare Tang Ao could only say that Shur's 11th firmament life soul was really not enough in front of him. After all, the weakest life soul in Tang Ao's 100 battle spear soul was at the 21st firmament. It was 10 firmaments stronger than Shur's blood demon life soul. However, Tang Ao had yet to recover from his serious injuries, and the 100 battle spear soul was unable to unleash its peak combat strength. The 100 battle spear soul's strength was less than 10%. Even so, there was no pressure in dealing with Shur's counterfeit blood demon life soul. There was a sharp whistle in the air as Shur controlled the blood demon life soul to attack Tang Ao. With a surge of blood, or the blood took out a blood imbibator. After approaching Tang Ao, Shui Yao held the blood drinker saber with both hands and fiercely slashed at Tang Ao's head. Shur demon blood Tang Ao had a blood Ao. He wanted a dragon demon soul blood Ao, but cut. Dragon demon blood soul is Ao, Yang, Ao, Tang. Shur seemed to have a blood feud with Tang Ao. He wanted to cut Tang Ao in half the moment he attacked. When Tang Ao appeared again, Shur saw a flash of blood. At the same time, he felt a chill in his throat. When Shur came back to his senses, he realized that his half-brother, Shur Luohua, had appeared beside him. If not for Shur Luohua's blood imbibator blocking the spear in Tang Ao's hand, it would have pierced his throat. When Shur came back to his senses, he realized that his half-brother, Shur Luohua, had appeared beside him. If not for Shur Luohua's blood imbibator blocking the spear in Tang Ao's hand, it would have pierced through his throat. Shur found it hard to believe what had happened. One had to know that Qin Yun was invincible in the same realm as Ho Tianci. When Shur fought with him, he had a chance of winning. But now, facing Tang Ao, who was only at the 5th stage of the body refining realm, Shur felt a sense of defeat. They were both warriors at the 5th stage of the body refining realm, but he had almost been killed in one move. Shur was sure that if Shur Luohua hadn't intervened in time, the 100 battle spear soul in Tang Ao's hand would have pierced through his throat. Thinking of this, Shur felt a lingering fear. Chapter 1362. It had to be known that although Qin Yun Village belonged to the Qin Yun Union, Qin Yun Village was just a place where the old, weak, and sick struggled to survive. A martial artist with such amazing talent like Tang Ao really shouldn't appear here. You're not bad. You have such combat strength at the 5th level of the body refining realm. Even the rising star of the Qing Yun Union, Ho Tianxi, is inferior to you. But you and Ho Tianxi do have one thing, and that is that you make people feel very uncomfortable. Besides Shi Luohua said calmly. Unlike his cold appearance, Shi Luohua's words were not right, but they were definitely not bad. As long as he thought of something, he would inevitably say it. You're also not bad. If you were a little slower, he would already be a dead man at this moment. Tang Ao didn't know the identity of these two people, but these two people sneaked into Qingyun village without his permission. Obviously, they weren't good people, especially Shi. If Shi Luohua hadn't blocked Tang Ao's fatal blow for him, he would already be dead at this moment. As for the matter of Shi snatching the Cretaceous beast, there were too many things to do in Qingyun village, so Tang Ao didn't want to bother with him. But what Tang Ao didn't expect was that this Shi actually didn't give him face, so he couldn't blame Tang Ao. Ha! After Tang Ao finished speaking, Shi Luohua laughed and immediately said, Ho Tianxi once withstood 5 moves from me. If you can also withstand 5 moves from me, we will leave here. I think the current Qingyun village can't lack a martial artist like you. While Shi Luohua and Tang Ao were talking, screams could be heard from Qingyun village from time to time. The remaining demonic beasts in Qingyun village had indeed been killed by Tang Ao and the others. But now, there were still a few demonic beasts in Qingyun village. To Tang Ao, these demonic beasts could be easily killed with a single stab of his spear. But to the ordinary people in Qingyun village, it was a nightmare. Under Tang Ao's sole remembrance, there were currently 3 blackback wolves attacking the villagers around Tang Ao. Junior sister Qianqian, there are 3 blackback wolves in the north. Go and deal with them. I'll come over as soon as I'm done here. The blackback wolf was only at the 3rd level of the body refining realm. With the previous experience, Situ Qianqian should have no problem dealing with the blackback wolf. Therefore, after some thought, Tang Ao decided to let Situ Qianqian deal with the 3 blackback wolves. Although the 3 blackback wolves were surrounded by the martial artists of the village protection team, the strongest among them was only at the 2nd level of the body refining realm. They didn't dare to approach the blackback wolves rashly. They could only follow the blackback wolves from afar. When they saw the blackback wolves attacking the villagers who couldn't escape in time, they would launch some disruptive attacks. However, these attacks weren't something the blackback wolves cared about. Situ Qianqian's sole remembrance wasn't as powerful as Tang Ao's, so she didn't know what was happening around her. However, Situ Qianqian still chose to listen to Tang Ao. Even if she stayed here, she wouldn't be able to help Tang Ao. The only thing she could do was believe in Tang Ao and believe that Tang Ao would be able to deal with the trouble here. Seeing Situ Qianqian leave, Shi Luohua asked with some astonishment, You seem to be very confident in yourself, or do you not want her to see me beating you up? Huh? Shi Luohua finished speaking and laughed loudly, as if he had guessed Tang Ao's thoughts. Chapter 1363. As the saying goes, when a connoisseur makes a move, the real deal is clear. Although the two of them had only exchanged one move, both of their expressions had turned serious. Although this Shi Luohua appeared to be frivolous on the surface, his cultivation at the body refining realm at the 7th level was not exaggerated in the slightest. Shi Luohua similarly did not dare to look at Tang Ao again. He was completely different from that arrogant Ho Tianxi. From the exchange, just now, Shi Luohua could completely feel that Tang Ao had battle experience that was seriously inferior to his cultivation. Even among the body refining realm at the 7th level, Shi Luohua had rarely encountered such a battle. So when he thought that Tang Ao was only at the body refining realm at the 5th level, Shi Luohua could not remain calm. The one who was even more unsettled than Shi Luohua was naturally Shi, who was watching from the side. After seeing the short exchange between Tang Ao and Shi Luohua, Shi understood that his life just now had really been picked up by the skin of his teeth. In front of Tang Ao, Ho Tianxi's so-called invincibility at the same level was simply a joke. Sure, who was sure that even if Ho Tianxi had broken through to the body refining realm at the 6th level, he might not be a match for Tang Ao. But sure, who did not know that his thoughts were really superfluous, because not long ago, Ho Tianxi had already been defeated by Tang Ao. If not for his follower risking his life to save him, Ho Tianxi would have long been a dead man. At this time, Tang Ao and Shi Luohua's battle had not yet ended, but the two of them had clearly exchanged more than 5 moves. But things were not as Shi Luohua had said. As long as Tang Ao could withstand 5 moves from him, he would bring Shi Hu away from Qinyan village. At this time, Shi Luohua not only had no intention of leaving, but was actually getting more and more excited as they fought. If there was nothing else, Tang Ao would not have minded having a good fight with Shi Luohua. But at this time, Tang Ao was clearly occupied with many things. How could he have the mood to fight with Shi Luohua? Although Shi Luohua was belligerent, she was definitely not stupid. Seeing Tang Ao frown, how could Shi Luohua not understand that at this moment, Tang Ao was obviously worried about the remaining monster beasts in Qinyan village? Thinking of this, Shi Luohua straightforwardly said, "Let's join hands and kill all the monster beasts in Qinyan village first. Then we can have a good fight." Tang Ao had never imagined that Shi Luohua would say such a thing. With the help of an expert like Shi Luohua, Tang Ao naturally couldn't ask for more. However, Tang Ao still said, Tang Ao is naturally very grateful that brother Luohua is willing to help. However, the blood demon life soul that Shi Hu cultivates is too evil. Please let him follow me. Otherwise, I won't be at ease. Tang Ao knew that Shi Luohua really wanted to help, but Tang Ao was still worried about Shi Hu. At Shi Hu's current cultivation level, it was already very heaven-defying for him to be able to cultivate the blood demon life soul to the 6th layer. But now that Shi Hu had cultivated the blood demon life soul to the 11th layer, it was an indisputable fact that the blood demon had devoured the blood of other martial artists. Hearing Tang Ao's words, Shi Luohua was stunned at first, and then said, "You don't have to worry about this. Brother whose blood demon life soul has not devoured the blood of human martial artists. Except for his own blood, all other blood is beast blood. That's why his blood demon aura is so chaotic." Of course, the reason why he treated your friend like that just now was because he wanted to take her pure Yin blood to calm the restless blood demon. Chapter 1364. Although Tang Ao and Shi Luohua's current cultivation, especially Tang Ao, couldn't even be compared to experts, the two of them had one similarity. However, the two of them had one thing in common, and that was that they both possessed great potential. No matter if it was Tang Ao or Shi Luohua, their martial Tao foundations were very solid. This was the foundation for martial artists to climb to the peak of martial Tao. With such a martial Tao foundation, as long as they didn't die, they would definitely become experts in the future. If it was on the black-yellow continent, it might not be so easy for body-refining realm martial artists to survive. But here, on the Flying Star continent, the strongest people on the continent could only reach the origin martial realm. As long as one's cultivation reached the 6th level of the body refining realm, they wouldn't die so easily. As long as they didn't provoke those existences that they absolutely couldn't provoke, living to the origin martial realm wasn't a problem at all. Because of this, Shi Luohua and Shi Hu didn't join any factions in the dragon subduing caves. The two of them wandered around the dragon subduing caves and were relatively peaceful. Of course, Tang Ao wasn't a stubborn and pedantic person. After thinking for a moment, Tang Ao nodded. "Let's kill all the demon beasts in Qinyan village first, then we'll fight." After speaking, the two of them didn't waste any more words. They spread out their soul remembrance and chased after the demon beasts hiding everywhere. With the help of a 7th level body refining realm martial artist like Shi Luohua, the speed of clearing out the remaining demon beasts instantly increased. These remaining demon beasts were a disaster to normal people in Qinyan village, but against Tang Ao and Shi Luohua, these demon beasts weren't enough. With the two of them working together, many demon beasts were killed the moment they showed their heads. In less than an incense's time, Tang Ao and the others had already thoroughly searched from the north side of the village to the south side of the village. Sure, Luo didn't ask for the demon beasts she killed. Instead, Lin, who collected the demon beasts and gave them to Sure Luo. Low-level demon beasts didn't have much value, but as the saying goes, quantity leads to quality. This time, Sure Luo alone killed at least 90 low-level demon beasts. These demon beasts piled into a small mountain in the plaza at the center of Qingyun village. Tang Ao also killed a lot of demon beasts. After counting them, Tang Ao coincidentally only killed 89 demon beasts. Seeing this, Sure Luo smiled. Brother Tang Ao, it seems like we don't need to compete in the second half. In terms of killing demonic beasts, you've already lost to me. Ha ha. Ha ha. As Sure Luo said, Sure Luo, Sure Luo, Sure Luo, Sure Luo, Luo. Only Sure only killed one. Sure Luo, Tang Luo. I used to be at the demon chen Ao wa Luo, I Tang I Luo or Tang. Sure Luo frowned. I've always been lazy. I don't like to be tied down. Moreover, I also have no intention of joining Qingyun Union. Just now, Sure Luo and Tang Ao had fought side by side, so Sure Luo and Tang Ao could be considered to be acquainted with each other. Therefore, when Tang Ao said this, Sure Luo just frowned. After listening to Sure Luo, Tang Ao immediately said, I'm not asking Brother Luo to join Qingyun Union. I'm just asking you to be a guest of Qingyun Village. Of course, Brother Luo, as a guest, is not bound by Qingyun Union. If Brother Luo and Junior Brother Sure who want to leave, they can leave at any time. Chapter 1365. The village guards of Qingyun Village could indeed be slowly nurtured into powerful warriors, but that was a long process. However, a wandering expert like Sure Luo could be immediately put to use as long as he was recruited. The effect was very obvious, so why not? At this moment, Tang Ao even had the idea of recruiting a large number of such wandering warriors. The reason why these warriors chose not to join any forces was that they did not want to be bound by the messy rules of the various alliances. Coincidentally, Tang Ao did not need to restrict them. He only needed them to find some spiritual herbs for him in Evergreen Valley. Because Tang Ao was a 6-star alchemist, these warriors were the ones who needed help from Tang Ao. Brother Tang Ao, are you really a 6-star alchemist? What was the most lacking in the Hidden Dragon Crypt? Without a doubt, it was all kinds of cultivation resources and elixirs. Elixirs were even more scarce here. Those imprisoned in the Hidden Dragon Crypt by the Dragon Prison Castle were basically all warriors. However, there are not many alchemists among such a large number of warriors. In Sure Luohua's knowledge, other than the 10 alliances that had alchemists, most of the other alliances did not have alchemists. That's right, in the Hidden Dragon Crypt, other than the Grand 10 alliances, there were many other forces. However, compared to the Grand 10 alliances, these forces were too small. Moreover, they did not have fixed territories in the periphery of Evergreen Valley, so they were rarely mentioned. Sure Luo wandered around the Hidden Dragon Crypt, so he came into contact with more things. These things that Tang Ao did not know, Sure Luo was very clear. At the same time, Sure Luo also knew that even in the same Grand 10 alliances, the alchemists of each force were also mixed. For example, in the strongest alliance of the Grand 10 alliances, there was a 7-star alchemist among them. A 7-star alchemist sounded only one more star than a 6-star alchemist, but the treatment of the two was really different. In the Hidden Dragon Crypt, and even in the Phasian continent, the most precious thing was undoubtedly the Vitality Cultivation Pill. The Vitality Cultivation Pill was divided into lower, middle, upper, and supreme grade. However, 3-star alchemists and below could only refine low-grade vitality-raising pills. Even the most outstanding 3-star alchemist would not be able to refine a middle-grade essence-augmenting pill, because being able to refine a middle-grade essence-augmenting pill was the sign of a 3-star alchemist advancing to a 4-star alchemist. Similarly, 6-star and below 6-star alchemists could only refine middle-grade vitality cultivating pills. In order to refine a high-grade vitality augmenting pill, one would need to be at least a 7-star alchemist. In the entire Dragon Crouching Crypt, or even the entire Phasian continent, there were actually quite a few 6-star alchemists, but 7-star alchemists were pitifully few. As for 7-star alchemists and above, they were even rarer. That being said, this was the Hidden Dragon Crypt after all. Although the Dragon Prison Castle was one of the 8 major forces that dominated the Flying Star continent, it did not have the guts to capture alchemists on a large scale and imprison them in the Hidden Dragon Caves. Therefore, as a 6-star alchemist, Tang Ao's status in the Hidden Dragon Crypt was still very important. In reality, how could Tang Ao be a 6-star alchemist? With Tang Ao's current attainments in alchemy, even if a 9-star alchemist came, it would not be enough in front of Tang Ao. It was just that Tang Ao felt that his current cultivation was too low, so he had to keep a low profile. Therefore, Tang Ao only said that he was a 6-star alchemist. It was just that Tang Ao would never have thought that in a place like the Hidden Dragon Crypt, even 6-star alchemists were very rare. Chapter 1366. Tang Ao didn't expect that he would cause such a huge commotion after saying that he was a 6-star alchemist. Not only was sure Luo was shocked, but even Lin Hu and the others gathered around. Lin Hu scratched his head in a simple and honest manner, then said to Tang Ao, "Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao, I didn't quite understand what you just said. Did you say that you were a 6-star alchemist?" Hearing Lin Hu's question, Tang Ao didn't say anything, but Situ Qianqian giggled at the side. However, after seeing Tang Ao's helpless expression, Situ Qianqian hurriedly stopped laughing. Among everyone present, Situ Qianqian knew that Tang Ao was a 9-star alchemist. Now that Lin Hu and the others were dumbfounded because Tang Ao was a 6-star alchemist, if they knew that Tang Ao was a 9-star alchemist, Situ Qianqian didn't dare to imagine what kind of expression they would have. In fact, Situ Qianqian herself didn't know whether Tang Ao said he was a 9-star alchemist or if Tang Ao felt that the truth would scare Situ Qianqian. So he only said that he was a 9-star alchemist. In fact, the current Tang Ao was already at the peak of the spirit alchemist level, half a foot into the ranks of alchemy immortals. Seeing Lin Hu's dumbfounded expression, Tang Ao nodded in annoyance. "Don't be curious, I just became a 6-star alchemist not long ago. After this, I will carefully plan which medicinal ingredients to plant in Qinyan village, and at the same time, we can also gather the existing medicinal ingredients." Saying this, Tang Ao paused. Now, what Tang Ao needed the most were the medicinal ingredients for the 2 vitality cultivating pills. Originally, Tang Ao was prepared to enter Evergreen Valley to look for them, but now Tang Ao suddenly had a better idea. Because he had a soul sea and heavenly polar eyes, Tang Ao believed that if he entered Evergreen Valley, he would definitely not return empty-handed. But now, Tang Ao obviously had a better choice. Qinyan village had existed for hundreds of years, and there were many other villages and forces around Qinyan village. It was just that Tang Ao didn't know much about these villages and forces, but Tang Ao knew that wherever there were people, there would be a market. Moreover, Qinyan village had existed for hundreds of years, so there was no shortage of spirit herbs needed to refine the essence cultivating pill. In this way, Tang Ao could open his shop at Scholar Tree House to refine pills and earn spirit herbs. A normal alchemist's fee for alchemy was that no matter what kind of alchemy pill they were refining, they would need to collect exactly the same medicinal ingredients. And after the completion of the pill, they would need to take 30% of the medicinal ingredients. Moreover, this was only the lowest requirement. The higher the grade of the alchemist, the more terrifying the fee. Under normal circumstances, a 6-star apothecary would have to extract 50% of the final product after forging a pill. As for those 9-star apothecaries, if there were no benefits that could tempt them, they would not open their cauldrons to refine pills. Hence, this time, Tang Ao was prepared to collect the lowest fee from Scholar Tree House, and at the same time, purchase large amounts of spirit herbs needed to refine the essence cultivating pill. Tang Ao believed that with Qing Yun Village's hundreds of years of heritage, it would definitely not disappoint him. At the same time, Tang Ao could also choose some disciples with talent in alchemy to teach them alchemy. Since Tang Ao was now the village chief of Qing Yun Village, even though he was only a deputy, Tang Ao still had to serve as an official and benefit the people. Chapter 1367. After hearing Tang Ao's words, the surrounding people were instantly stirred up. One had to know that the people in Qing Yun Village were people with relatively low cultivation and status. Usually, if there was a need for medicinal pills, even if they went to ask a 2-star or 3-star alchemist to refine medicinal pills, they would be ignored. But now, a 6-star alchemist like Tang Ao was willing to refine pills at Scholar Tree House in 3 days. This news was shocking. However, some villagers had a skeptical attitude, and that was that the matter of Tang Ao being a 6-star alchemist was said by Tang Ao himself. In addition, no one knew how good Tang Ao's alchemy skills were. In the Hidden Dragon Caves, the scarcity of medicinal pills was far scarier than other places in the Facian continent. The Hidden Dragon Caves were basically filled with martial artists, but there were very few alchemists. Moreover, the Hidden Dragon Caves were full of danger, and all kinds of medicinal pills might be needed at any time to recover and treat injuries. Because Tang Ao had not been here for long, Tang Ao was not very clear about the weight of a 6-star alchemist in the Hidden Dragon Caves. After Tang Ao announced that he would refine pills at Scholar Tree House in 3 days, the news suddenly spread like wildfire in Qing Yun Village, and even spread to the surrounding villages and forces. However, after hearing this news, many people did not take it seriously, because even the Qing Yun Alliance only had its first 6-star alchemist not long ago. Moreover, this 6-star alchemist was something that the Qing Yun Alliance had spent a lot of money to cultivate for many years. Now, someone said that the deputy village chief of Qing Yun Village was also a 6-star alchemist. Wasn't this a joke? Having said that, some people still decided to go and observe. After all, this was the Hidden Dragon Caves, and the status of alchemists here was raised to the extreme. Even if Tang Ao was not a 6-star alchemist, as long as he was a 3-star alchemist, there would be a lot of martial artists who wanted to befriend him. If Tang Ao was really a 6-star alchemist, then they would really be lucky. Even outside the crypt of the Subduing Dragon, the price for a 6-star pill master to concoct pills was much higher than a normal pill concoction fee. In the Hidden Dragon Crypt, where alchemists were rare, it was even more so. However, the news that everyone received this time was that the deputy village chief of Qing Yun Village, Tang Ao, was actually helping to refine elixirs at a price that was lower than that of ordinary elixirs. Normally, when an alchemist concocted pills, no matter what kind of pill they were concocting, they would need to prepare 2 sets of medicinal ingredients. One set of medicinal ingredients was for the alchemist, and the other set of medicinal ingredients was for alchemy. In addition, after the pill was formed, the alchemist would take 30% of the pills. However, this time, when Tang Ao opened the furnace to refine the pill, he only needed a portion of the medicinal ingredients as payment and did not need to extract the medicinal pill after the pill was formed. This news was shocking enough, but not long after, another piece of news came out. If Tang Ao alchemy failed, they would have to compensate for the medicinal herbs according to the price. As soon as such news came out, many people could not sit still anymore, especially those who had always wanted to concoct a certain kind of pill, but could not find an alchemist to concoct the pill. At this moment, they had already rushed to Qing Yun Village in various places. Tang Ao expected the rarity of a pill master in the Hidden Dragon Crypt, so Tang Ao suppressed his alchemy ability and only said that he was a 6-star alchemist. However, Tang Ao obviously still underestimated the influence of a 6-star alchemist. At this moment, all the big and small forces around Qing Yun Village had already set off to Qing Yun Village just to see the elegance of alchemist Tang Ao 3 days later. Chapter 1368. Originally, if Mu Yang had not occupied Scholar Tree residence, then Tang Ao would have chosen to refine pills in Scholar Tree residence. However, now that Mu Yang had become the village head of Qingyun village and Tang Ao was only the deputy village head, Tang Ao could only build his own alchemy room, because in Qingyun village there was no place for the deputy village head to live. Fortunately, Scholar Tree residence was surrounded by open space, and apart from Mu Yang's bamboo house, there were no other buildings in the surroundings. Therefore, Tang Ao easily chose a place to build his alchemy room. At this time, the Qingyun village's village guards also came over carrying a variety of stones and wood. If not for the existence of an old monster like Shi Yun in the village, then Tang Ao would have directly taken out a refined immortal's cave. However, now, Tang Ao did not dare to act presumptuously in front of Shi Yun's eyes, so he could only use this time-consuming and laborious conventional method. However, with the help of the village guards, Tang Ao's alchemy room was completed in less than half a day. At this time, the physical work had already ended, and the next step was to arrange the array formation. Therefore, after the village guards left to cultivate, Tang Ao began to arrange the array formation inside the alchemy room. According to Tang Ao's original idea, he had to arrange the 9-star spiritual array. However, after thinking about it, Tang Ao decided to keep a low profile. In the alchemy room, at this moment, Tang Ao stood in the middle of the alchemy room, but Tang Ao was not refining pills, but refining array flags. Pieces of materials were thrown into the crafting furnace by Tang Ao, and under the calcination of the flame, they changed shape. These spiritual materials were used by Tang Ao to refine array flags. Although Tang Ao's cultivation had suffered a great loss, refining these array flags was not a problem. Because the grade of these array flags was not high, it did not take long for Tang Ao to refine all the array flags. After refining the array flags, Tang Ao kept the crafting furnace and set up an array in the pill refining room. If it was just to set up other array formations, Tang Ao could use the array patterns and not the array flags. However, now that Tang Ao wanted to set up a fire-gathering array in the alchemy room, he had to use array flags. If he only wanted to occasionally refine some pills, then Tang Ao could summon the netherworld flame to refine them. But if it took a long time to refine pills, the netherworld flame wouldn't be able to handle it. Of course, it wasn't that the netherworld flame wasn't good, but the current Tang Ao was just too weak. Therefore, after some consideration, Tang Ao decided to use the fire-gathering array to gather the pill fire to refine pills. This way, Tang Ao could save a lot of energy. Tang Ao took out the array flag that he had just refined and sat down cross-legged. After calming his mind and adjusting his breathing, Tang Ao's powerful remembrance surged out and he started to carve runes on the array flags. This time, Tang Ao made a total of 36 array flags. With the lesson from last time on Murong Shin's pleasure boat, the array Tang Ao prepared to set up this time was the Big Dipper Inferno array. On the surface, this array looked exactly the same as the fire-gathering array, but because Tang Ao carved the Big Dipper Inferno array's runes on the array flags, if something unexpected happened, Tang Ao only needed to move the array flags to instantly activate the Big Dipper Inferno array. With Tang Ao's array skills, if something unexpected happened, even if there was an Origin Realm expert in the pill refining room, they would undoubtedly die. Tall trees attract the wind, and the weak are prey to the strong. These are the rules of survival in the world of martial arts that Tang Ao already knew. Although Tang Ao wasn't clear on the influence of a 6-star alchemist in the Hidden Dragon Cave, Tang Ao still had the awareness of taking precautions. After he finished carving the runes, array flags were thrown out by Tang Ao in an orderly manner. After a wave of energy fluctuation, the array flags disappeared into the ground. Chapter 1369. Senior Brother Tang Ao, when are you going to teach me alchemy? After seeing Tang Ao, Situ Qianqian asked anxiously. Obviously, Situ Qianqian was very interested in alchemy. Moreover, Situ Qianqian's pure fire spiritual root was very suitable for learning alchemy. After Situ Qianqian asked, Tang Ao did not answer directly, but asked instead, "Have you finished reading the alchemy jade strip I gave you?" Previously, Tang Ao had given Situ Qianqian an alchemy jade strip from 1-star to 9-star alchemist. It recorded the basic knowledge of alchemy in detail, so if Situ Qianqian wanted to learn alchemy from him, she would have to read it thoroughly first. And I've finished reading it. Situ Qianqian nodded hurriedly. Ever since she received the alchemy jade strip from Tang Ao, Situ Qianqian would take out the jade strip whenever she had time to study it. Now, Situ Qianqian had read the jade strip several times. In theory, the current Situ Qianqian was stronger than most 3-star and 4-star alchemists. But until now, Situ Qianqian had not refined a single batch of pills. Hearing that Situ Qianqian had finished reading the alchemy jade strip, Tang Ao was very satisfied. Whether it was martial arts cultivation or alchemy, diligence was very important. Nothing in the world was difficult if one worked hard, and this was not without reason. Since you've already read my alchemy jade strip, try refining a batch of pills, Tang Ao said, and took out an alchemy furnace. Although there was an image of an alchemy furnace in the alchemy jade strip, it was Situ Qianqian's first time seeing a real alchemy furnace. Seeing Situ Qianqian staring at the alchemy furnace as if it was a treasure, Tang Ao was speechless. At this moment, Lin Hu walked in from outside the door. After seeing Lin Hu, Situ Qianqian immediately put her hands on her waist and said, "Senior brother Lin Hu, how many times have I told you, before entering someone's room, you have to knock first?" When Lin Hu heard Situ Qianqian reprimanding him, he scratched his head in embarrassment and did not know what to say. Tang Ao knew that Lin Hu was honest, and Situ Qianqian didn't have any ill intentions. She just wanted to tease Lin Hu. However, Tang Ao still helped Lin Hu out. "Junior brother Lin Hu, is there something you need from me?" Lin Hu was now the commander of the Qing Yun Guards appointed by Tang Ao. The so-called Qing Yun Guards were the previous guards of Qing Yun Village. Although the function was the same, Tang Ao still felt that the name Village Defense Team was too common. It was not in line with Tang Ao's style at all. Therefore, after some consideration, Tang Ao changed the name of the Village Protection Team to the Qing Yun Guards. Lin Hu was the current commander of the Qing Yun Guards and was responsible for the safety of Qing Yun Village. Something must have happened for Lin Hu to come looking for him. Senior brother Tang Ao, senior brother Shi Luohua, and junior brother Shi have already settled at the north side of the village. Previously, Tang Ao had Lin Hu help Shi Luohua and Shi Hu settle down in the village. Now that the two had settled down, Lin Hu came to inform Tang Ao. After hearing this, Tang Ao frowned. "Didn't you say that the north side of Qing Yun Village is close to the Evergreen Valley and often has fierce beasts? Why did you arrange for the two of them to stay there?" In Tang Ao's mind, Shi Luohua and Shi Hu were not villagers of Qing Yun Village, but guests of Qing Yun Village. Arranging for guests to stay in such a dangerous place was clearly not the way to treat guests. Although Shi Luohua and Shi Hu had the ability to stay there as long as there was no beast tied, the two of them would not be afraid. If there were demonic beasts that did not have eyes and went to disturb them, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. Chapter 1370. Because Lin Hu's proposal was really killing two birds with one stone. Although Qing Yun Village was not small, Qing Yun Village also had a lot of people. Therefore, when Tang Ao decided to build a training ground for the Qing Yun Guard, he could not find a suitable place. Now that the north of the village was empty, it couldn't be better. Moreover, the Qing Yun Guard was originally guarding the Qing Yun Village, so there was nothing wrong with the Qing Yun Guard being stationed in the north of the village. Then Tang Ao thought for a moment, then said to Lin Hu, "Now the Qing Yun Guard only has 30 people. It is far from enough. Recruit the number of people in the Qing Yun Guard until 100. Then the Qing Yun Guard's training ground will be built in the north of the village. You are responsible for this matter. The sooner the better. Is there anything else?" Lin Hu shook his head and said, "I will do it now." After Lin Hu finished speaking, he left Tang Ao's alchemy room without any hesitation, obviously to recruit the Qing Yun Guard and build the training ground. Seeing Lin Hu full of energy at this moment, Tang Ao also cheered up. As the deputy village chief of Qing Yun Village, he could not lose to Lin Hu. "Senior brother Lin Hu, you didn't say much to me before leaving. Since childhood, you have always been this stupid." Looking at Lin Hu's back, Situ Qianqian said in a bad mood. But not long after, Situ Qianqian's attention returned to the alchemy furnace in front of her. Situ Qianqian often heard Zhongshan talk about alchemists, so she knew about alchemy furnaces very early on. However, today was the first time Situ Qianqian saw an alchemist using an alchemist. The alchemy furnace that Tang Ao took out was refined by Tang Ao using an old black rock iron in the warehouse of Qingyun Village. According to the classification standard of the Flying Star Continent, this alchemy furnace was a 9-star alchemy furnace. This kind of alchemy furnace was already very precious in the Flying Star Continent, but in the Black-Yellow Continent, no alchemist would pick it up even if it was thrown on the street. Even so, when Tang Ao was refining this pill furnace, he still hesitated for a while. This was because this cauldron was already one of the best cauldrons on the Flying Star Continent. However, Tang Ao's current cultivation was not at the peak of the Flying Star Continent yet. As the saying goes, a man's wealth is his own ruin. Possessing such a pill furnace could cause trouble for Tang Ao sooner or later. However, after thinking about it, Tang Ao still concocted the 9-star pill furnace. Because in the path of pill concoction, the flame could be adjusted according to the strength of the pill master's soul remembrance. But the pill furnace couldn't be careless. This was also the reason why the higher the grade of the pill furnace, the more sought after by the alchemists. If Tang Ao wanted to snowball his pill concoction here, then the pill furnace naturally couldn't be bad. Although there were many better pill furnaces in Tang Ao's storage ring, Tang Ao had tried them. However, those pill furnaces in the Flying Star Continent were the same as concocting pills without a pill furnace. Among the many pill furnaces in Tang Ao's collection, only the Farmer God Cauldron could be used. However, Tang Ao felt that as long as he wasn't tired of living, he wouldn't take out the Farmer God Cauldron. After all, the small Qingyun village had the existence of a chaotic heavenly realm powerhouse like Shiyun. Who knew if there were any other monsters on the Flying Star Continent? Therefore, Tang Ao decided to refine this 9-star pill furnace and use it when the time came. Chapter 1371. After listening to Situ Qianqian's words, Tang Ao also discovered that although the grade of this alchemy furnace was not very satisfactory to Tang Ao, this alchemy furnace was really high-end and classy. Seeing that Situ Qianqian liked this alchemy furnace so much, Tang Ao also said in a rather heroic manner, "Junior Sister Qianqian, I will only use this alchemy furnace for a period of time. When you become a 3-star alchemist, I will give this alchemy furnace to you." "Really? Thank you, senior brother Tang Ao. I will definitely work hard to learn alchemy." After speaking, Situ Qianqian then said to Tang Ao, "Senior brother Tang Ao, will I be using this alchemy furnace to refine pills now? And what kind of pill do you want to refine?" Just now, Tang Ao was only focused on talking with Situ Qianqian and Lin Hu, and actually forgot to ask Situ Qianqian what kind of pill she wanted to refine. "Can I try the low-grade essence augmenting pill first, senior brother Tang Ao?" During this period of time, the pill that Situ Qianqian had been researching the most was the essence augmenting pill. Moreover, the essence augmenting pill was also the most widely circulated strategic pill in the Flying Star Continent. Tang Ao nodded his head. Although Tang Ao had never refined an essence augmenting pill, Tang Ao was confident that even if it was a so-called top-grade essence augmenting pill, as long as there were the spiritual herbs required for alchemy, it would not be a problem for Tang Ao. After obtaining Tang Ao's permission, Situ Qianqian took out all the spiritual herbs required to refine the low-grade essence augmenting pill. Although Tang Ao had never refined an essence augmenting pill, he still had a clear understanding of the spiritual herbs required to refine the essence-augmenting pill. To refine the low-grade essence-augmenting pill, a total of 12 basic spiritual herbs were required. As for the middle-grade essence-augmenting pill, it required 24 different spiritual herbs. On the basis of the original 12 spiritual herbs, another 12 higher-grade spiritual herbs were added. It was the same for high-grade and supreme-grade essence-augmenting pills. Therefore, when it came to supreme-grade essence-augmenting pills, the number of spirit herbs required to refine could reach as many as 48. As a peak 6th rank alchemist, naturally, it wasn't that Tang Ao didn't concoct pills that required many spirit grasses to be able to be concocted. However, Tang Ao felt that it was extremely difficult for body refinement realm or even origin realm alchemists to control 48 types of spirit grasses. Therefore, Tang Ao suspected that there were no supreme-level vitality enhancing pills on the Flying Star continent at all. Although Tang Ao suspected that the Flying Star continent did not have the supreme vitality augmenting pill, what puzzled Tang Ao was that Tang Ao was sure that there was nothing wrong with the formula of the supreme vitality augmenting pill after careful study. In other words, it was possible to refine the essence augmenting pill. It was just that wanting to refine a top-grade essence cultivating pill was far more difficult than imagined. Tang Ao saw that after Situ Qianqian took out the 12 types of spiritual herbs, she began to carefully clean the spiritual herbs. In reality, these spiritual herbs had already been cleaned up very cleanly by her, but Situ Qianqian still carefully cleaned them again. After carefully cleaning the spiritual herbs, Situ Qianqian walked next to the cauldron. She calmed her mind and began to use soul remembrance to communicate with the cauldron. Following Situ Qianqian's soul remembrance communication, the arrays within the Black Rock Cauldron were all activated by Situ Qianqian. Then, Situ Qianqian followed the method on the Alchemy Jade Scroll and sent Yuan Qi into the cauldron. As Situ Qianqian's Yuan Qi poured in, a wisp of flame quietly jumped out of the Black Rock Cauldron. When this wisp of flame, which could change according to Situ Qianqian's thoughts, appeared, Situ Qianqian happily cheered. Chapter 1372. It would take at least 3 to 5 days, and at most 1 to 2 months. People like them who could successfully congeal their pill fire after a few tries were truly rare existences. However, Tang Ao saw that Situ Qianqian had only used one try to congeal her pill fire. How could Tang Ao not be shocked? However, Situ Qianqian was currently completely immersed in the pill concoction process, so she didn't notice the stunned Tang Ao at the side. Tang Ao was, after all, a person who had seen great winds and waves. Thus, after the initial shock, Tang Ao quickly recovered and continued to watch Situ Qianqian concoct the pill. Tang Ao had to admit that Situ Qianqian was truly a pill concoction genius. She was naturally suited for pill concoction. She had a pure fire spirit root, and her soul remembrance was very exquisite. Thus, her control over her pill fire was very meticulous. With the previous failure, Situ Qianqian calmed her emotions and continued to congeal her pill fire. Following a pu sound from the pill furnace, a baby fist-sized flame quietly appeared in the Black Rock pill furnace. This time, Situ Qianqian was very calm. Although she was very happy, her Yuan Qi didn't fluctuate too much. Under Situ Qianqian's meticulous control, this flame quietly grew. Not long after, it covered the entire pill furnace. Then, under Situ Qianqian's control, it changed shape. Tang Ao nodded his head. Your control over the pill fire isn't too big of an issue. The next step is to use the pill fire to refine the medicinal liquid essence of the spirit herb. Hearing Tang Ao's words, Situ Qianqian nodded her head seriously. Situ Qianqian had carefully looked at the pill concoction jade slip that Tang Ao had given her. Thus, Situ Qianqian knew that in order to become a pill master, congealing the pill fire was the simplest step. The next step was refining the medicinal liquid, fusing the medicinal liquid, and congealing the pill. That was the true test of a pill master. After Situ Qianqian calmed her emotions, Tang Ao saw Situ Qianqian carefully pick up a spirit herb and place it in the pill furnace. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao could not help but smile. In his previous life, when Ruosu had taught him alchemy, the scene of his first alchemy was almost exactly the same as Situ Qianqian's. At that time, it was also the first time that Tang Ao had come into contact with alchemy. Thus, after condensing the alchemy fire, Tang Ao immediately prepared to refine the medicinal essence. Although Ruosu had told him to familiarize himself with the alchemic fire, otherwise he would fail without a doubt. However, Tang Ao, who refused to admit defeat, decided to immediately start refining the medicinal liquid. Although Tang Ao was very careful, he still used up all the low-level spiritual herbs that Ruosu had stored in her alchemy room. After that, Tang Ao and Ruosu quarreled and left. After a long time, the main building of the Pavilion of Herbs, the largest spiritual herb store in the Black-Yellow Continent, was visited by Devil Lord Tang Ao. After a bitter battle with the 10 guardians of the Pavilion of Herbs, Tang Ao still managed to rob more than half of the spiritual herbs stored in the Pavilion of Herbs and left. This caused the Pavilion of Herbs to pursue Tang Ao throughout the entire Black-Yellow Continent. However, Tang Ao was still unscathed. After robbing so many spiritual herbs in the past, Tang Ao naturally went back to find Ruosu. With a huge amount of spiritual herbs to practice with, Tang Ao's alchemy level naturally rose. However, as a burnt smell wafted out, Tang Ao also came back to his senses from his long memories. Even though Situ Qianqian had a pure fire spiritual root and an extremely meticulous psyche, when she was learning alchemy, she still encountered her first failure in refining spiritual herbs in her alchemy career. Senior brother Tang Ao, refining spiritual herbs is so difficult. After Situ Qianqian put away the alchemy fire, she looked at Tang Ao with an aggrieved expression. Chapter 1373. It seemed that as long as she followed Tang Ao's instructions, she would be able to refine the spiritual grasses successfully the last time. With Tang Ao's guidance, Situ Qianqian once again began to refine the spiritual grasses with confidence. However, the reality was far from as simple as she imagined. Situ Qianqian's second attempt at refining the medicinal liquid ended in failure, followed by a third and a fourth failure. Although the successive failures made Situ Qianqian very unhappy, she felt that she was able to make a little bit of progress each time. Situ Qianqian's heart was still relieved. This was because in the alchemy jade slip that Tang Ao gave to Situ Qianqian, it was clearly written that refining medicinal liquid was a process of accumulating experience for an alchemist. In this process, failure was inevitable. However, as long as one learned from each failure and improved a little the next time, then such a failure would not be considered a failure, but a small success. Seeing that Situ Qianqian was completely immersed in alchemy, Tang Ao did not disturb her. Originally, Tang Ao only wanted to test whether this alchemy furnace was good or not. Although Tang Ao did not personally refine the elixir from the process of Situ Qianqian's alchemy, Tang Ao could see that there was no problem with this alchemy furnace. Although it was not comparable to Tang Ao's Shinong Cauldron and other pill furnaces, Tang Ao knew that it would not be a problem to use this pill furnace to refine the best quality essence augmenting pill. It was just that right now, Tang Ao did not even have the spiritual grasses to refine a low-grade essence cultivating pill, let alone the spiritual grasses to refine a top-grade essence cultivating pill. Although Tang Ao planned to start snowballing to accumulate cultivation resources during alchemy 3 days later, even if he wanted a snowball, he needed to have a snowball in the beginning. Therefore, after Situ Qianqian failed again, Tang Ao hurriedly stopped her. Situ Qianqian really had a lot of medicinal herbs on her, but Situ Qianqian was also very smart. After the first failure in refining the spiritual grasses for the essence cultivating pill, Situ Qianqian took out some very common spiritual grasses and began to refine them. But even so, Situ Qianqian had still wasted a lot of spiritual herbs, and a thick layer of pill ash had accumulated at the bottom of the Black Crag pill furnace. After Tang Ao finished speaking, Situ Qianqian also stopped. "Senior brother Tang Ao, what's wrong?" Although Situ Qianqian hadn't succeeded even once, she felt that she was getting closer and closer to success through continuous refinement. Now that Tang Ao had stopped her, Situ Qianqian was a little worried that her method was wrong. Seeing the nervousness on Situ Qianqian's face, Tang Ao smiled slightly. "Junior Sister Qianqian, alchemy is a step-by-step process. According to your current speed, you will definitely succeed after refining 300 spiritual grasses. But now, can you lend me all the spirit grass needed to refine the low-grade essence cultivating pill?" "Senior brother Tang Ao here." Situ Qianqian didn't hesitate and took out a storage bag and handed it to Tang Ao. Tang Ao scanned it with his soul remembrance and found that this storage bag had 10 portions of spirit grass needed to refine the low-grade essence cultivating pill and 1 portion of spirit grass needed to refine the middle-grade essence cultivating pill. This caused Tang Ao to be overjoyed. With these spiritual grasses, it would be enough for Tang Ao to snowball. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao said, "Junior Sister Qianqian, what do you think about this? Arrange all the spiritual grasses on you into portions according to the pill recipe. Tonight, I will refine all of these spiritual grasses into pills. Tomorrow, I will sell them at the market square and buy even more spiritual grasses." Chapter 1374. Seeing these spirit grasses, Tang Ao nodded in satisfaction. Subsequently, Tang Ao began to combine pill recipes based on these spirit grasses. While combining pill recipes, Tang Ao discovered that every place had its own unique spirit grasses. With just a glance, Tang Ao discovered that there were many types of spirit grasses that he had never seen before. The Shinong Emperor's spirit grasses Jade Slip also didn't have any records. Last time, when Tang Ao was attracted by the saber-toothed tiger's roar, he went to a special forest. In the forest, there is also an ancient spirit grass, the star flower, that Tang Ao had never seen before. Thinking of the star flower, Tang Ao immediately thought of the golden scroll that recorded the star flower. Immediately, Tang Ao took out the golden scroll named Grass. With a thought from Tang Ao, the golden scroll began to flip without any wind. This golden scroll's name was very special. It only had a single grass character. However, even Tang Ao couldn't help but marvel at the breadth of spirit grasses recorded in this golden scroll. During Tang Ao's cultivation, Tang Ao only occasionally encountered spirit grasses that he didn't recognize. However, when Tang Ao flipped through the golden scroll, Tang Ao discovered that he didn't recognize many spirit grasses. Although there were many spirit grasses on the ground, Tang Ao's status as a peak 6th grade alchemist was definitely not just for show. Not long after, the spirit grasses that Tang Ao recognized were combined into various pills by Tang Ao. There were also some spirit grasses that were unique to the Flying Star continent that Tang Ao couldn't do anything about. Of course, if there was enough time, Tang Ao could slowly study the medicinal properties of these spirit grasses. However, right now, what Tang Ao lacked the most was time. Right now, the Murong family was in a precarious situation. Murong Xian was Tang Ao's savior, so Tang Ao naturally couldn't just sit and watch. More importantly, Tang Ao had received news that Chu Xuehan was currently trapped in the Liu family manor. 3 months later, the leader of the Flying Star Alliance, Liu Chuanjia, was going to hold a matchmaking convention for Chu Xuehan. Tang Ao heard that Liu Chuanjia should be in the Origin Martial Realm. Currently, Tang Ao's cultivation had only recovered to the 5th level of the body refining realm. Although Tang Ao had many trump cards, Tang Ao did not have the confidence to challenge the dignity of an origin realm martial artist with his cultivation at the 5th level of the body refining realm. If it was only within the same realm, most of the time the gap between martial artists was not as big as imagined. But if they crossed a realm, it would be like the body refinement realm and the origin realm. The difference between the two could not be made up by some methods. It was like an elephant facing a group of ants. No matter how strong the ants were, they couldn't shake the elephant. Although there was the saying of ants biting an elephant to death, that was only an imaginary thing. In reality, it would only happen. No matter how many body refining realm martial artists there were, they would only be sending food to the origin realm martial artists. So, within 3 months, Tang Ao had to recover his cultivation to the origin realm. At the very least, he had to recover to the 9th level of the body refining realm. Or else, not only would Tang Ao not be able to save Chu Xuahan, he would also lose his life. Senior Tang Ao, what do we do with these spirit grasses? Although Situ Qianqian knew that the last few spirit grasses were also spirit grasses, since Situ Qianqian's pill formulas were given by Tang Ao did not know how to match the pill formulas for these spirit grasses. Naturally, Situ Qianqian did not know how to match them as well. You can use the remaining spirit grasses to practice and quickly refine the medicinal essence. As Tang Ao spoke, he took out a cauldron. This cauldron was only a 5-star cauldron, and it was not as high as the Black Rock cauldron. But to the current Situ Qianqian, it was enough. This white jade cauldron is for you. In the future, use this cauldron to concoct pills. Chapter 1375. However, Situ Qianqian didn't know that this beautiful white jade pill furnace wasn't as simple as it looked. Because this white jade alchemy furnace was shockingly a 5-star alchemy furnace. In the hidden dragon caves, pill masters were rare, but there were still a few. There were even a few high-ranking pill masters. However, when it came to refiners, there were pitifully few of them. This was because pill masters and refiners had similar talents. They both had powerful soul remembrance, were proficient in fire-type secret techniques, and had fire spirit roots, or even pure fire spirit roots. However, because the Yuan cultivating pill was a strategic pill in the Flying Star continent, the status of pill masters rose. This way, even the martial artists who originally wanted to learn forging switched to learning pill concoction. Only those who didn't have much success in the path of pill concoction would choose to learn forging. In this way, the number of cultivators who learned to refine artifacts would be 1 level lower. It would be even more difficult for a grandmaster to appear in the path of refining artifacts. Currently in the Hidden Dragon Caves, the strongest Alliance Tianxia Assembly had 7-star pill masters. However, even in the Tianxia Assembly, the strongest refiners could only forge 4-star soul weapons. Pill furnaces were also a type of soul weapon, and, compared to normal soul weapons, pill furnaces were even harder to forge. Therefore, in the Hidden Dragon Caves, 4-star and above pill furnaces rarely appeared. Even if there were mostly defective product from the Evergreen Valley. After giving the white jade pill furnace to Situ Qianqian, Tang Ao began to concoct pills. However, Situ Qianqian didn't immediately start extracting the spirit herbs. Instead, she stood to the side and watched Tang Ao alchemy. Situ Qianqian saw that Tang Ao alchemy was completely different from what was described on the pill concoction jade scroll. According to the description on the pill concoction jade scroll, the spirit herbs needed to be thrown into the pill furnace one by one. However, right now, Tang Ao just threw all the spirit herbs into the pill furnace. Because Tang Ao's soul remembrance was innately powerful, adding on the fact that Tang Ao had the Shinong Emperor's pill refining technique, normal pill refiners couldn't even be mentioned in the same breath as Tang Ao. Moreover, Tang Ao's soul remembrance and pill art were in their weakest states. His soul sea had been completely shattered. The higher one's cultivation, the more effective the pill art would be. However, because Tang Ao's cultivation was low, the effects weren't very obvious. As Tang Ao threw the spiritual grasses into the alchemy furnace, a faint medicinal fragrance wafted out from the alchemy furnace. Under the control of Tang Ao, the medicinal essence of the herbs was gradually extracted under the calcination of the alchemy fire. After extracting it, Tang Ao kept increasing the purity of the medicinal liquid essence. Generally speaking, as long as the medicinal liquid essence was purified to 30%, it could be used to refine pills. However, this was only done by normal pill refiners. The more powerful the pill refiner, the higher the purity when extracting the medicinal liquid essence. For example, when Tang Ao and Chu Shuohan were concocting pills, they could basically purify the medicinal liquid essence to 90% or above. In the pill concoction room, it was very quiet. One could even hear the sound of the pills forming in the pill furnace. As the night deepened, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were like meditating old monks in the pill concoction room. However, from time to time, Tang Ao would change his pill art, while Situ Qianqian would stare unblinkingly, afraid of missing any detail. Although Situ Qianqian had never concocted pills before, she had seen the guest alchemists of Qing Yun Alliance concoct pills in Qing Yun Alliance. Chapter 1376. In reality, Situ Qianqian did not know that Pill Master Tian and Tang Ao could not be mentioned in the same breath. Tang Ao's current level of alchemy was already at the peak of a grade 6 alchemy master. Due to the legacy of the Shinnong Emperor, Tang Ao was already half a step into becoming an alchemy master. However, Tang Ao was currently stuck at a bottleneck. This bottleneck was due to Tang Ao's cultivation level and also due to Tang Ao's lack of enlightenment. Although Tang Ao alchemy's refinement was very smooth, Tang Ao still felt that something was missing. However, Tang Ao could vaguely feel that the pills he refined seemed to be lacking something. However, Tang Ao couldn't tell what it was that he was missing. At this moment, Tang Ao's hand seals changed again. Even a lion would use all its strength to capture a rabbit. Although Tang Ao could easily refine pills of this level, he was still very meticulous when it came to refining pills. Even so, when Tang Ao was refining this furnace of pills, he was still very meticulous. Collect. Under Situ Qianqian's gaze, Tang Ao softly uttered the word collect. Then, Tang Ao patted the furnace, and 6 evenly distributed pills flew out of the furnace and landed in a jade bottle that Tang Ao had prepared in advance. The pill that Tang Ao was refining this time was called the Muscle Relaxation and Meridian Activation Pill. It was a very practical type of 3-star pill. It was very effective for some injuries, such as stagnation and swelling. Senior brother Tang Ao, let me try it too. After seeing how easily Tang Ao refined a furnace of pills, Situ Qianqian immediately took out the white jade furnace that Tang Ao had given her. However, before Situ Qianqian could start refining, Tang Ao's voice was heard. Refine the furnace first before you start. Tang Ao did not refine the Black Crag pill furnace because it was too ordinary, so Tang Ao did not refine it. Just like the Shinnong Emperor that Tang Ao usually used for alchemy, Tang Ao had refined it many times. However, the Shinnong Emperor had 9 layers of restrictions, and Tang Ao had only refined the first 3 layers. If Tang Ao could refine all 9 layers of the Shinnong Emperor's restrictions, even though Tang Ao's alchemy ability had yet to reach the level of an immortal alchemy master, Tang Ao could still rely on the Shinnong Emperor's heaven-defying ability to refine immortal elixirs. However, with Tang Ao's current state, he didn't have to consider these things at all. It would be better to refine all these spirit plants into elixirs as soon as possible and sell them in the Crouching Dragon Market tomorrow. Then, he would start collecting cultivation resources like a rolling snow mountain. Although the 9 Dragon Emperor Jade body was domineering, Tang Ao had to admit that it consumed a lot of cultivation resources. Previously, when Tang Ao cultivated the hidden Jade body, The cultivation resources he needed were almost 10 times that of martial artists of the same rank. However, now that Tang Ao had awakened the 9 Dragon Emperor Jade body, the cultivation resources he needed for each increase in cultivation level were dozens of times more than martial artists of the same rank. Therefore, after reaching the 5th level of the body refining realm, Tang Ao had never slacked off in his cultivation. However, after so many days, Situ Qianqian, who had the same cultivation as Tang Ao, had already reached the early stage of the 6th level of the body refining realm. However, Tang Ao was still at the late stage of the 5th level of the body refining realm, and there were no signs of a breakthrough. This was because Tang Ao was an astral-reaching realm martial artist in his previous life, so he didn't take any detours in his cultivation. Chapter 1377. At the same time, in a cottage in Qing Yun's village, Shi Yun, who was sitting quietly, suddenly opened his eyes. 2 beams of light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, his gaze seemed to have pierced through the entire flying star continent. Taking a deep breath, Shi Yun murmured, "I understand now. This is not some bullsh *T Yuan Qi." Shi Yun casually made a grabbing motion, and the surrounding Yuan Qi instantly gathered in Shi Yun's hand, forming a twinkling light ball. This transparent light ball slowly rotated in Shi Yun's hand, looking like a bright star. Sure enough, this is not the Yuan Qi of a low-rank place. This is the star Yuan power of the divine king falling star. After this discovery, Shi Yun's eyes flashed with a hint of passion. At this moment, Shi Yun had understood that what filled the entire flying star continent was not Yuan Qi at all. Instead, it was the star Yuan power that leaked out from the divine king falling star's body after his death. At the same time, Shi Yun also understood why only the Evergreen Valley's demonic beast could break through the divine king falling star's Tao accumulation and reach the sea of soul's realm, life and death realm, and even the astral reaching realm. If someone knew Shi Yun's thoughts at this moment, they would most likely be scared to death. Not to mention the astral reaching realm demonic beasts. As long as an origin martial realm demonic beast came out of the Evergreen Valley, it would basically be able to wash the hidden dragon crypt with blood. Basically, they could bathe the hidden dragon crypt in blood. Although there were many martial artists in the hidden dragon crypt, after so many years, there was still no origin realm martial artist that appeared in the hidden dragon crypt. Otherwise, if there was an origin martial realm martial artist, everyone would still believe that this origin martial realm martial artist would definitely be able to lead everyone out of the hidden dragon crypt and obtain freedom. But in fact, they were thinking too much, because even an origin martial realm martial artist would not be able to blast open the immortal formation at the entrance of the hidden dragon crypt. It must be the demonic beasts in the Evergreen Valley that swallowed the divine king falling star's divine crystal shard and obtained a recognition of the divine king falling star's Tao accumulation, allowing them to cultivate to a certain realm without any restrictions. In other words, the Evergreen Valley is the burial ground of the divine king falling star. After understanding this, Shi Yun sighed inwardly. He had been trapped in the flying star continent for 10,000 years, and now there was finally a hope of getting out. Tang Ao knew that there were high-level demonic beasts in the depths of the Evergreen Valley. Tang Ao had even been fortunate enough to see images of the depths of the Evergreen Valley. It was just that when Tang Ao first saw that there were so many powerful demonic beasts in the depths of Evergreen Valley, he only thought about how to get away from these terrifying existences. He never thought about why the demonic beasts inside were so powerful. When Tang Ao alchemy was performed, he was in an ethereal state. Things that he hadn't thought about before were now clearly presented in Tang Ao's mind. Immediately, a memory fragment related to Underworld Emperor appeared before Tang Ao's eyes. It was a fist-sized crystal fragment that Underworld Emperor had obtained when he cultivated to the peak of 9th level astral reaching realm. Emperor Hades called this shard a divine crystal. It was said that this shard was a fragment of the divine crystal that had exploded after the Netherworld God King had perished. Once Emperor Hades absorbed and refined the broken divine crystal, he would be able to enter and exit the underworld freely and cultivate there. Once an ordinary person fell into the netherworld, other than those with extraordinary cultivation, everyone else would immediately be melted by the incomparably dense netherworld aura of the netherworld. Chapter 1378. The so-called Tao world was a powerful plane that could only be opened up by experts who cultivated to the Divine King realm. Just like the Netherworld realm had been created by the Netherworld Divine Monarch, the current Flying Star continent was most likely a Tao world created by a Divine Monarch expert. Perhaps this place was not called the Flying Star continent at all, or perhaps something had happened here. After all, Divine Monarch realm experts were legendary existences. During Ming-Di's era, there did not seem to be any Divine Monarch realm experts. According to the inherited memories of Ming-Di and several other Chaotic Heaven realm experts, Tang Ao knew that the experts who dominated the various realms were Tao master experts. Ming-Di's sworn enemy, Origin Magnetism, was also one of them. This thought only flashed through Tang Ao's mind, but Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate, who was far away in the Origin Magnetism Tao Palace, had a strange look in his eyes. Then, Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's vast spiritual force swept across countless realms, penetrated countless planes, and descended on the Flying Star continent. However, Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's spiritual force did not stay on the Flying Star continent for too long. It continued to penetrate the plane where the Flying Star continent was located and went to other planes. In the entire Flying Star continent, most people did not react at that moment. However, in 4 places on the Flying Star continent, the expressions of 4 people changed. The first person was naturally Tang Ao. Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate and Ming-Di were old enemies, so Tang Ao was very familiar with Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's aura. Tang Ao had never imagined that Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate would be so strong. Just now, he had shown some hostility towards Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate in his heart, and Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's aura instantly descended on this place. Fortunately, this place was really special, because Tang Ao could sense that Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's spiritual force did not stay on the Flying Star continent for long before disappearing. Like Tang Ao, there were 3 other people who sensed Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's spiritual force. Needless to say, one of them was Shi Lianyun, who had been trapped on the Flying Star continent for 10,000 years. Although Shi Lianyun's cultivation level had been suppressed by Divine King Yunxing's nomological Tao essence, after obtaining the Falling Star token, this suppression had been greatly reduced. Thus, when the Origin Magnetic Tao Venerate's spiritual sense swept through the myriad heavens, Shi Yun immediately detected it. After sensing the aura of the Origin Magnetic field, Shi Lianyun was startled. Could it be that Proto-Magnetic had also discovered that this was God King Yunxing's burial ground and wanted to snatch God King Yunxing's inheritance? Although Shi Lianyun was conceited, Shi Lianyun wasn't conceited enough to think that he, a completely suppressed Chaotic Heaven realm expert, could compete with Magnetite for God King Yunxing's inheritance. Therefore, Shi Yun could only pray that the old fox, Proto-Magnetic, hadn't discovered that this was God King Yunxing's inheritance ground, giving him the opportunity to collect the other 7 Falling Star tokens. At this moment, Shi Huanyun took out a token made of star stones. Xiaoyu had stolen this token from the Murong family home. When the Murong family was in chaos, Xiaoyu had snuck into the Murong family home and stolen this token for his master, Kong Yun. Now, Shi Yun was sure that these 8 tokens were the key to opening God King Yunxing's inheritance. At the same time, as long as one had these 8 tokens at the same time, one could absorb and refine all the celestial essence scattered across the Flying Star continent. Shi Lianyun felt very excited. The celestial essence scattered across the Flying Star continent was the Tao essence of God King Yunxing's cultivation. Chapter 1379. Although Tang Ao had also speculated that the Flying Star continent was extraordinary, he had even guessed that this was the Tao world of a divine king expert. However, as the time Tang Ao had spent here couldn't compare to Shi Lianyun's, Tang Ao hadn't thought about the special characteristics of the surrounding Yuan Qi. In the depths of Evergreen Valley, a black-clothed man had a strange expression on his face. This was because he had actually felt an extremely powerful divine will sweep past his body in that instant. His memory was very unclear, and his eyes were filled with confusion. He didn't know who he was, nor did he know where he was. However, he knew that everything here was echoing with him, as if this place belonged to him. Moreover, although that spiritual sense was powerful, the black-clothed man had a feeling. It was as if his past self was thousands of times more powerful than that spiritual sense. At the thought of this, the black-clothed man felt a little dizzy. His memory had always been fragmented and couldn't be connected. However, in all the fragments of his memory, he could see that people often addressed him as Divine King Falling Star. Could it be that he was Divine King Falling Star? Who was Divine King Falling Star? As he thought about these questions, the black-clothed man felt a sharp pain in his head. Then he roared. His roar caused the surrounding forest to tremble. In the depths of Evergreen Valley, the astral-reaching realm, Yin-Yang realm, and even the powerful demonic beasts at the chaotic sky realm were all prostrating on the ground, not daring to move. After the roar, the black-clothed man's body tilted, and he fell into the small lake below him. A moment ago, he had been sitting cross-legged on a rock in the center of the lake. After falling into the water, the black-clothed man's aura gradually calmed down. Then, the depths of Evergreen Valley gradually regained its tranquility. Naturally, outsiders didn't have the opportunity to witness this scene. Even Shi Lianyun hadn't expected that Tao Master Falling Star, whom he had been thinking about, hadn't died. At the moment, he was in an extremely bad state and had been hiding in the depths of Evergreen Valley. If Shi Tianyin had known about this, he would not have tried every possible means to collect the other 7 Fallen Star tokens. However, even so, if Shi Tianyin could really gather all 8 Falling Star tokens, refine them, and absorb all the star essence energy of the entire Flying Star continent, then even Divine King Falling Star would not be able to do anything to Shi Tianyin. After all, Divine King Yunxing's main body was still in a chaotic state, and his cultivation was only at the peak of the chaotic heaven realm. He had yet to reach the Tao Master realm. Furthermore, God King Yunxing and God King Xidigarbha had perished together back then. Although the two of them had reincarnated after countless years, God King Yunxing and God King Xidigarbha had died together. However, his cultivation was still less than 1/10,000th of his peak. Not only did he not recover to the Divine King realm, he did not even break through to the Tao Master realm. Junior Sister Qianqian, did you feel anything strange just now? In the alchemy room, Tang Ao raised his head and asked Situ Qianqian. Situ Qianqian was a little confused. No, Senior Brother Tang Ao, what happened? Situ Qianqian's eyes were filled with confusion. She had been completely focused on her alchemy and hadn't felt anything at all. Chapter 1380. Although Situ Qianqian had collected a lot of spiritual grasses over the years, Tang Ao alchemy speed was too fast. Therefore, in the latter half of the night, Tang Ao had refined all the spiritual grasses that were piled up into a small mountain into medicinal pills. This time, Tang Ao had refined a total of 40 bottles of medicinal pills. Although these medicinal pills were not of high grade, they were all of the best quality among medicinal pills of the same grade. After all, Tang Ao was a true 6th realm alchemist. Refining medicinal pills of this level was really not a challenge at all. All right, let's take a break now. When dawn comes, we'll go to the market to sell these medicinal pills. After refining these medicinal pills, Tang Ao sat down cross-legged. Situ Qianqian also nodded. The spiritual grasses in her hands were also used up. After working hard for most of the night, Situ Qianqian was able to extract the medicinal essence from the spiritual grasses. However, she still could not purify the medicinal essence to 30% purity. And to refine medicinal pills, the minimum requirement of the medicinal essence in the spiritual grasses was to purify it to 30% purity. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning before dawn, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian rode 2 horses out of Qingyan village and rushed to the Hidden Dragon Market. The Hidden Dragon Market was the largest trading area in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Almost all the cultivators in the Hidden Dragon Crypt would come here to sell and buy things. This time, Tang Ao was here to sell things and also to buy things. This time, Tang Ao brought 40 bottles of 1-star to 4-star medicinal pills. It was not that Tang Ao did not want to refine higher-grade medicinal pills, but because although Situ Qianqian had a lot of spiritual grasses, she did not have many high-grade spiritual grasses. Tang Ao only refined 1 bottle of 4-star medicinal pills, which was the muscle-relaxing activating pill. In addition, there were 9 bottles of 3-star medicinal pills. As for 1-star and 2-star pills, he refined 10 bottles of each. If Tang Ao was willing, of course, he could refine even more. However, Tang Ao felt that refining too many of these low-level elixirs would be useless, so Tang Ao gave all the remaining spirit grasses to Situ Qianqian to practice. The reason why he chose to come today was because today was the Dragon Subduing Market's monthly gathering. Every 3 months, the Dragon Subduing Market would hold a gathering like this. At this time, as long as the martial artists had been here for a long time, they would come over. Even if they didn't need anything, as long as they were nearby, they would come to watch the fun. On the way to the Crouching Dragon Market, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian met many people. However, everyone was also on guard against each other and had no intention of communicating at all. Because in the Dragon Subduing Crypt, the battles were more intense than in the outside world. Sometimes, there was no need for a reason to kill someone. Some powerhouses could kill other warriors for no reason as long as they could get what they wanted. Therefore, even though everyone was going to the same place along the way, everyone walked with familiar people. They kept their distance from the rest, because going to the Dragon Subduing Market at this time, whether it was buying or selling things, they would have some goods on them. As long as one wasn't too stupid, they could understand this logic. And for these people to be able to survive for so long in the Dragon Subduing Crypt, not only were they not stupid, but each one was more shrewd than the other. Just as Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were talking and moving forward, a beast carriage sped over from afar. The tyrannical aura of the demonic beast scared the horses that Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were riding so much that they sat paralyzed on the ground. This person's high-profile behavior naturally attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Many people even revealed a trace of disgust in their eyes. However, this trace of disgust did not linger in their eyes for too long before it was retracted. Because there were 2 big, blood-colored words on the curtains of this beast carriage. Azura. These 2 words were not ordinary. In the Dragon Subduing Crypt, these 2 words represented a major force, and this force was called the Azura Union. In the Dragon Subduing Crypt, there was a total of 10 alliances formed by martial artists. Among them, the Underworld Union was publicly recognized as the strongest alliance. The minimum requirement to join the Underworld Union was to reach the 7th level of the body refining realm. Under such stringent requirements, the number of people in the Underworld Union was the smallest among the 10 alliances. However, the small number of people did not affect the strength of the Underworld Union. There used to be a total of 12 alliances in the Dragon Subduing Crypt. 2 alliances joined forces to deal with the Underworld Union. Later on, there were only 10 alliances. Chapter 1381. Tang Ao patted the startled date red horse under him. The date red horse also stood up. Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were riding on the most normal date red horse. It couldn't even be considered a demonic beast. The Azura Alliance's people used demonic beasts called fire armor bulls to pull their carriages. Fire armor bulls had great endurance and were extremely berserk. They could run as fast as they could. Due to their great endurance, they could carry heavy loads for long distances. As a mount, fire armor bulls were the best choice. Another thing was that fire armor bulls that were raised were extremely loyal to their masters. They could even be used as bodyguards. The slightly larger forces basically all had livestock like the fire armor bull. However, in Evergreen Valley, there were very few fire armor bulls. Only Underworld Society and Azura Alliance had found fire armor bulls in Evergreen Valley. There is also a rumor that the only fire armor bull herd in Evergreen Valley had been captured by Azura Alliance and Underworld Society. Therefore, the other Alliance members had never seen fire armor bulls in Evergreen Valley. After Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian's date Red Horse calmed down, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian continued on their way. The people around them didn't talk to each other. They all went their own ways. Next to Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian was a young man and woman. The two of them were riding on the same horse and quietly talking to each other. Although their voices were soft enough, a martial artist's sixth senses were superior to others. Moreover, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was constantly enveloping the surroundings, so Tang Ao naturally heard the two's words clearly. He heard the young man say, "The news of Evergreen Valley discovering Poison Fog Canyon is probably going to spread soon. While there aren't many people who know, let's buy a few more poison avoidance pills. When the time comes, whether we go in or out of Poison Fog Canyon or resell them, we'll definitely make a profit. But Brother Zhao, Poison Fog Canyon is so dangerous. If no one goes to Poison Fog Canyon, you won't be able to sell your poison avoidance pills." The woman's eyes showed a trace of worry. As the saying goes, the speaker didn't mean it, but the listener was interested. The two people's conversation attracted Tang Ao's interest. With Tang Ao's current cultivation, entering the middle region of Evergreen Valley was quite difficult. However, the outer region of Evergreen Valley had been excavated by the Hidden Dragon Cave's martial artists for years. Therefore, after hearing about the poisonous fog in the canyon, Tang Ao immediately became interested. "Kid, what's up with the poisonous canyon you mentioned?" Just as the young man and woman were whispering to each other, a big, bearded man suddenly shouted from behind them. This man's voice was like thunder, so he couldn't have the attention of Ao of the two. Was seeing this scene, Zhao Tao's expression was somewhat unsightly. Zhao Tao had just been a bit proud of his idea, so he couldn't help but say it to his partner. Moreover, Zhao Tao's soul remembrance was extremely sensitive. If a martial artist used soul remembrance to spy on him, Zhao Tao would immediately discover it. Now, Zhao Tao had never thought that this unprepossessing bearded man would have such amazing hearing ability. He was actually able to hear his words just by relying on his hearing ability. However, Tang Ao could only say that this Zhao Tao was truly too confident because not only was he spying on him, but Tang Ao's soul remembrance was constantly scanning the area. However, this Zhao Tao simply didn't detect the existence of Tang Ao's soul remembrance. Moreover, this was when he was so close to Tang Ao. Chapter 1382. Now, Tang Ao understood why the martialists in the Hidden Dragon Caves were so wary of each other. It was because the female martialist in Zhao Tao's arms had a very close relationship with him. But even with such a relationship, this woman was still thinking about how to trick Zhao Tao. At this moment, only Tang Ao knew what was going on. Everyone else, including Zhao Tao, was still in the dark. However, Tang Ao and Zhao Tao weren't related. So Tang Ao wanted to see what this bearded man and this woman were up to. Indeed, after seeing everyone's gaze, Zhao Tao's expression changed slightly. He immediately said, "Since this friend heard it, I won't hide it from everyone." 3 days ago, a group of 20 friends went to explore the no man's land in the periphery of Evergreen Valley. After hearing that it was the no man's land in the periphery of Evergreen Valley, everyone perked up. Tang Ao had never been to Evergreen Valley before, so he had no idea what the no-man's land in the periphery of Evergreen Valley was. Fortunately, Situ Chanchian knew about this. Hence, when she saw Tang Ao's puzzled expression, she immediately said to Tang Ao, "A portion of the periphery of Evergreen Valley is managed by the Big Ten alliances. They're the so-called districts 1 to 10. For example, the Underworld Union manages the 1st district of Evergreen Valley. Arching Yin Union manages the 10th district of Evergreen Valley." After pausing for a moment, Situ Chanchian continued, "From the 1st to the 10th district, the area is larger and the resources are more abundant. However, no matter how abundant the resources are, with so many martialists searching crazily, the resources are decreasing year by year. Apart from these 10 districts, there is still a large area in the periphery of Evergreen Valley. However, these areas are either hidden, scattered, or have no resources at all. Hence, they're called a no-man's land in the periphery of Evergreen Valley." After hearing Situ Chanchian's explanation, Tang Ao immediately understood. The so-called no-man's land was the area in the periphery of Evergreen Valley that hadn't been explored yet. If it wasn't for the fact that there was nothing there, there would definitely be something good there. Although Tang Ao had never been to the Evergreen Valley, he had never doubted that there were good things in the Evergreen Valley. Now that he knew that the no-man's land that Zhao Tao and the others had discovered was an area filled with poisonous fog, Tang Ao immediately became spirited. The more complicated the environment, the more difficult it was for a martial artist to enter. Since cultivators were unable to enter, then the things that should be inside were naturally not lacking. Thinking of this, Tang Ao secretly admired Zhao Tao. It wasn't like he didn't know what kind of place the hidden dragon crypt was. Of course, the first thing he wanted to do after discovering such a great place was to explore it carefully. He could even monopolize the resources in the canyon before anyone else discovered it. However, after Zhao Tao found this canyon, all he could think of was how to show off to his partner. If his partner really wanted to be with him, it would have been fine. But now, before anyone even came looking for him, his partner had already started to set him up. Even with Tang Ao's taste, Tang Ao had to admit that the one Yao in Zhao Tao's arms was rather good looking. After being in the Hidden Dragon Crypt for so long, Tang Ao really hadn't seen many outstanding female martialists. Even if there were beauties, they were ice-cold beauties like Cold Moon. Chapter 1383. Tang Ao saw that when these martial artists looked at Wen Yao, the instigator of all this, Wen Yao, revealed a trace of timidity and shrunk back into Zhao Tao's embrace. Tang Ao had just used his soul remembrance to scan Zhao Tao, so Tang Ao knew that Zhao Tao was only at the 6th level of the body refining realm. A 6th level body refining realm martial artist wasn't very outstanding in the Hidden Dragon Caves. Though Tang Ao was only at the 5th level of the body refining realm, Tang Ao knew that there were many 6th and even 7th level body refining realm martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Caves. Given Wen Yao's looks and skills, Tang Ao believed that Wen Yao would definitely be able to take down even a dumb body refining realm martial artist at the 8th or 9th level, let alone someone at the 7th level of the body refining realm. Therefore, Tang Ao couldn't understand what kind of treasure was hidden on Zhao Tao's body, or what did Zhao Tao know that caused this poisonous woman to plot against him. Today's events may have seemed like a coincidence in the eyes of others, but Tang Ao, who had already seen through everything, naturally knew that it wasn't a coincidence. It was all part of Wen Yao's plan. "Brat, why are you stuttering? If you have something to say, then say it." Zhao Tao was still hesitating on how to say it when the bearded, brawny man angrily roared. Living for a long time in the Hidden Dragon Caves filled with killing and fighting, most martial artists didn't have good tempers. This bearded martial artist clearly had an explosive temper. "Right, quickly say it. What did your group of 20 people find in the no man's land outside of Evergreen Valley?" Without waiting for Zhao Tao to speak, a white-clothed male martial artist with makeup on his face made an orchid gesture and asked in a shrill voice. Seeing this person, Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tang Ao truly didn't understand what this fellow was playing at. How did he get himself in such a state? Though Tang Ao had seen a few performers in the secular world dressed as women, those people were very normal after they finished their performances. The fellow in front of him was a little strange. He was obviously very handsome, but he had drawn himself as a woman. Moreover, his Adam's apple was a little hidden. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to see it. In such a situation, Tang Ao could only think of one possibility, and that was that this guy had cultivated some kind of evil cultivation method that could turn yang into yin. Although it looked a little strange, Tang Ao did not underestimate him. This was because although this white-clothed man and the bearded man who had just spoken were both at the 7th level of the body refining realm, Tang Ao knew that if the two of them were to fight, this white-clothed man would definitely crush the bearded man. This was because this person's aura was restrained, and his entire body's yuan qi was one. It was obvious that he was an expert. In the dragon's subduing caves, most cultivators blindly pursued speed in their cultivation because the higher the realm, the easier it was for them to survive in this cruel place. Therefore, very few martial artists were willing to take things one step at a time. This white-clothed youth in female clothing was clearly one of them. What happened here had attracted the surrounding people. After one of the martial artists saw the white-clothed youth in the center, he could not help but mutter, "Who is this guy? Why is he so effeminate?" But before he could finish, his mouth was immediately covered by his companions. "Do you want to die? This is Blood Moon Red. You don't even know Master Hong. He is Blood Moon Red?" Just now, this person had wanted to say that Blood Moon Red was a bit effeminate, but now that he heard Blood Moon Red's famous name, his voice immediately trembled. Chapter 1384. Thinking of this, Tang Ao felt that he was a bit ignorant. Blood Moon Red was clearly a famous person in the Hidden Dragon Caves, but Tang Ao had never heard his name. Junior sister Qianqian. Who is this Blood Moon Red? Senior brother Tang Ao, let me tell you. This time, Situ Qianqian didn't dare to speak, instead using soul remembrance to transmit to Tang Ao. Seeing Situ Qianqian's cautiousness, Tang Ao couldn't help but attach more importance to Blood Moon Red. Senior brother Tang Ao, unless it's absolutely necessary, you can't become enemies with this Blood Moon Red. He can't be killed, and what he likes to do the most is to peel off people's bones and refine their souls. In this subduing dragon crypt, all the martial artists who opposed him became bare skeletons in the end. Their flesh and blood were all scraped off by Blood Moon Red. Moreover, the martial artist's soul was also put into a soul bottle to be refined. Just thinking about it made Situ Qianqian's scalp go numb. After personally seeing Blood Moon Red, Situ Qianqian had a feeling that she wanted to escape this place. Tang Ao saw that when Blood Moon Red appeared, Wen Yao was also shocked. However, there was no fear in her eyes. However, when Tang Ao saw the way Blood Moon Red looked at Wen Yao, Tang Ao couldn't tell that the two of them knew each other. On the other hand, though the full bearded man tried his best to pretend that he didn't know Wen Yao, Tang Ao could tell that the two of them not only knew each other, but that their relationship wasn't shallow. Red Master, I, Zhao Tao, have never offended you before. Why is Red Master doing this? Zhao Tao had been in the Hidden Dragon Caves for so long, so he naturally wasn't a cowardly person. Just now, when the full bearded man stopped him, Zhao Tao didn't even put him in his eyes. Even if he was a 7th level body, refinement, realm martial artist, so what? However, after knowing that the person standing in front of him was Blood Moon Red, Zhao Tao couldn't even speak properly. In the dragon's subduing crypt, if one were to talk about the most famous person, it wouldn't be the Alliance head of the World Assembly, Feng Shui, nor would it be the half-step origin realm old bastard from the Azure Alliance. It would be Shui Yuehong. This was because Shui Yuehong's methods were too shocking. Since entering the dragon subduing cave, Shui Yuehong had made countless enemies and offended countless people. As a result, Shui Yuehong was still alive and well, but many of his enemies had died. There was once a martial artist who joked that among 10 martial artists in the dragon's subduing crypt, one person had enmity with the blood moon crimson. Although this was just a joke, it was not much different from the truth. However, because Blood Yue Hong liked to kill people who were related to her, after countless bloody lessons, some people who had a grudge against Blood Yue Hong knew that there was no hope for revenge and could only live an ignoble existence in the dragon-subduing caves. Just say what you want. If you had offended this servant, would you still be breathing here? Hearing Zhao Tao's words, Shui Yue Hong bluntly replied. Shui Yue Hong's words were already very rude, but at that moment, in Zhao Tao's ears, and in the ears of quite a few people in the surroundings, it could already be counted as the most polite words in the world. If it was said that Zhao Tao was originally planning to hide some things, but now that he had offended Shui Yue Hong, Zhao Tao only hoped that after he told everything, Shui Yue Hong wouldn't make things difficult for him and would let him go. However, what made Tang Ao feel a bit amused was that even in a time like this, Zhao Tao didn't forget his beauty. There was a bit of struggle in her eyes, but in the end, she still bit her teeth and said, Master Red, in a bit, if you insist on killing me, I am willing to use a treasure to exchange for my partner's life. Chapter 1385. No rush, let's talk first. However, what Zhao Tao didn't expect was that Blood Yue Hong, who always liked to kill and steal, wanted him to first talk about what he found in the uninhabited area of Evergreen Valley instead of asking what treasure it was. If it was anything else, Zhao Tao wouldn't dare say it could move Blood Yue Hong, but this item was too special. Moreover, Zhao Tao had obtained this item not long ago, so Zhao Tao was sure that Blood Yue Hong didn't know he had such an item on him. Tang Ao found it interesting. This Blood Yue Hong's abilities weren't weak, and his rules were rather interesting. If his methods weren't so cruel, Tang Ao would want to befriend him. Tang Ao could faintly feel that although Blood Yue Hong's cultivation method was a bit strange, no matter how he looked at it, Blood Yue Hong didn't seem like someone who would kill without batting an eye. However, Situ Qianqian said that too many people had died at Blood Yue Hong's hands, so Tang Ao couldn't immediately judge whether Blood Yue Hong was a good or evil person. Master Red, since it's like this, I'll be bold and say it. A few days ago, a group of us discovered a stream by chance. The stream contained a weak source of vital energy. Although most of the water in lakes and rivers contain yuan qi, the yuan qi in that stream is comparable to a low-grade essence cultivating pill. Zhao Tao was a little proud when he spoke about this matter. Back then, it was his sharp soul remembrance that detected the abnormality in the water. Hearing Zhao Tao say this, many people went crazy. The energy in the stream was comparable to low-grade cultivating yuan pills. So how could the water in that stream be water? It was clearly a stream that flowed with low-grade cultivating yuan pills. Therefore, a martial artist couldn't help but ask, "Where's this stream? Brother Zhao, please tell us." When Tang Ao heard Zhao Tao say this, he clicked his tongue in wonder. In a hidden dragon cave, the energy of heaven and earth was so thin, but in such an environment, there was still such a magical stream. Although Tang Ao still had a trace of doubt in his heart, Tang Ao still felt that this situation was very likely. However, at this moment, Zhao Tao took out a jade bottle and completely dispelled everyone's doubts. The jade bottle in Zhao Tao's hand was a very ordinary jade bottle used to store pills. At the moment, this jade bottle was filled with clear water. The instant Zhao Tao opened the jade bottle's restriction, everyone's soul remembrance enveloped the jade bottle. After sensing the pure yuan qi in the clear stream water in the jade bottle, many people's expressions became particularly interesting, and many people's eyes burned with passion. What did the hidden dragon crypt lack the most? Without a doubt, it was cultivation resources. If there was such a stream, how many cultivation resources could it provide? Moreover, since there was such a stream, would there be more in the surroundings? What kind of treasure was at the source of this stream? All of this attracted countless people, and they couldn't wait to explore the poison fog canyon that Zhao Tao mentioned. After seeing the stream water in Zhao Tao's hand, even Tang Ao was a little moved. Tang Ao had cultivated for 2 lifetimes, but Tang Ao had never seen such a magical stream. Keep talking, don't stop. Although the stream water was precious, Blood Moon Red didn't seem satisfied. Although Shui Yuehong looked like she was neither a man nor a woman, her thoughts were extremely exquisite and meticulous. This Zhao Tao was willing to talk about such precious stream water right from the start. This meant that in the Poison Fog Canyon, Zhao Tao definitely had some other shocking discoveries. Chapter 1386. Yes. After Shui Yuehong spoke, Zhao Tao hurriedly nodded and continued. After discovering the abnormality of this dream, we fought over it. Of the 20 people who went together, only 12 were left. In the end, the 12 of us agreed that each person would collect water for 2 hours. After collecting water for a day, we would continue to follow the stream and search for its source. While following the stream to search for the source, we came to a canyon shrouded in black poisonous miasma. Back then, we didn't have many antidote pills with us, so we only explored the periphery of the canyon. Even so, when we were exploring the periphery of the canyon, the remaining 12 people fought over a treasure. As he spoke, Zhao Tao tactfully took out a jade fragment from his storage ring. Although the jade fragment in Zhao Tao's hand was the size of a fingernail, it was a little thin. However, when Zhao Tao took out the jade fragment, everyone's expression changed. This was because this jade fragment contained an unimaginably pure essence energy. Tang Ao looked at the jade fragment in Zhao Tao's hand and frowned. He wondered if this jade fragment was equivalent to the spirit stones of the black-yellow continent. However, Tang Ao quickly rejected this idea. According to Tang Ao's perception, the essence energy contained in the jade fragment in Zhao Tao's hand surpassed the intensity of spiritual energy. Tang Ao possessed the inheritance of Shinnong Emperor, Emperor Hades, and several other chaotic sky realm experts. Therefore, Tang Ao naturally knew the difference between essence energy and spiritual energy, as well as immortal spiritual energy. Only the highest planes with the most complete laws of heaven and earth would have immortal spiritual energy. As for the rest of the planes, they were covered in spiritual energy. Only a small portion of the lower planes were covered in essence energy. As for the strength of vitality, it was several times or even dozens of times inferior to spiritual energy. However, the essence energy contained in the jade fragment in Zhao Tao's hand was clearly stronger than the spiritual energy contained in the supreme grade spirit stones. If Shi Yun was here, he would definitely be able to recognize that this jade fragment was the crystallization of divine King Yun Xing's star essence energy. Unfortunately, Shi Yun didn't care about the things in the periphery of Evergreen Valley. All he thought about was how to go deep into Evergreen Valley. Therefore, Shi Yun didn't even consider that divine King Yun Xing's star essence energy crystal would appear in the periphery of Evergreen Valley. Although Shi Yun couldn't cultivate now, as long as he collected all 8 Fallen Star tokens, it wouldn't be a problem for him to recover to the chaotic sky realm with the help of these star essence crystals. Unfortunately, Shi Yun didn't know that there were star essence energy crystals in the periphery of Evergreen Valley, nor did he obtain the 8 Fallen Star tokens. After plotting in the Hidden Dragon Crypt for so many years and cultivating several warriors like Xiaoyu was the only one who stole the Fallen Star insignia from the Murong family when they were at their weakest. After seeing the crystal stones in Zhao Tao's hands, Tang Ao had already decided that after he sold the pills, he would go to the canyon that Zhao Tao mentioned to him to take a look. Chapter 1387. So you're saying that out of the 20 people that went, only the 3 of you came out in the end? Other than you, who were the other 2? The one asking this time was the full bearded man from before. After Blood Yuehong appeared, perhaps he was afraid of Blood Yuehong and didn't say anything else. Hearing Zhao Tao say that only 3 people came out in the end, the large man couldn't help but ask who the other 2 were. I don't know either of them. I only know that one of them was from the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, and the other was from the Violent Blade Alliance. Back then, although we came out of the poison mist, we were all poisoned. Therefore, after we left the poison mist canyon, we were immediately in the limelight. Now that Zhao Tao had already thrown caution to the wind and said this much, there was naturally nothing worth hiding. Then let me ask you, in your group this time, was there someone called Suda? What happened to this person afterwards? At this time, the full bearded man's eyes had a trace of exhaustion. This Suda seemed to have a close relationship with him. However, Suda wasn't from the Rogue Cultivator Alliance or the Violent Blade Alliance. Therefore, the full bearded man guessed that his brother was most likely no longer in this world. Seeing this, Tang Ao could also see that this full bearded man seemed to have been used by Wen Yao. The reason why he looked at Wen Yao just now wasn't because he had thoughts about her, but because he wanted to ask about Suda's whereabouts. Tang Ao wasn't an idiot. Therefore, Tang Ao knew that if this Zhao Tao wasn't unlucky enough to encounter Blood Yuehong, these words probably wouldn't have come out of his mouth. Every warrior in the Hidden Dragon Cave had their secrets. Moreover, the secret that Zhao Tao spoke of this time was truly shocking. The stream water that contained Yuan Qi, then the jade stone shards that contained pure Yuan Qi. No one had explored the poison mist canyon before. The things hidden inside definitely surpassed most people's imaginations. Having said this, Zhao Tao naturally wouldn't hide it anymore. Zhao Tao's sole remembrance sketched in the air, and a topographical map appeared in front of everyone. Even Tang Ao could tell that this topographical map was the topographical map of the Hidden Dragon Cave. However, what Zhao Tao sketched in detail was only a small part of it. From the topographic map, Tang Ao saw a continuous mountain range that looked like a maze. Tang Ao secretly admired Zhao Tao's group for actually being able to find such a place. Then, Tang Ao continued to look at the topographic map and saw that Zhao Tao had used blue lines to outline 3 of the streams. These 3 streams are the streams that contain essence energy that I mentioned earlier. Originally, I had planned on collecting some more before leaving. However, I was already poisoned when I left. Thus, I did not collect any of the stream's water. Zhao Tao explained to Shui Yuehong after marking the streams. When Tang Ao saw the 3 streams marked by Zhao Tao, he secretly sighed in his heart. His guess was right. Just now, Tang Ao felt that since there was such a stream, there would most likely be more than one. Now that Zhao Tao had pointed out the 3 streams, Tang Ao guessed that there must be some kind of heaven-defying treasure at the source of these streams. Apart from this, Tang Ao was also very interested in the jade stone shards in Zhao Tao's hands. Tang Ao even suspected that if Shi Yun could cultivate here, he could use this jade stone shard to directly recover to the chaotic sky realm. However, although Tang Ao didn't understand why Shi Yun couldn't cultivate, Tang Ao felt that with Shi Yun's ability, it would probably take a long time for him to obtain this kind of jade stone shard. Chapter 1388. Although Zhao Tao looked like he had lost a lot by telling the truth, Tang Ao felt that he must have some sort of goal for telling the truth so honestly. However, Tang Ao didn't understand this mysterious Blood Moon Red, so Tang Ao didn't know that although Blood Moon Red was bloodthirsty, he didn't kill. This not kill meant not kill when asked. In other words, if Blood Moon Red asked you, you just had to answer truthfully and he definitely wouldn't kill you. Anyone who heard of Blood Moon Red's name would know that he had this habit. Therefore, after meeting Blood Moon Red, if he asked you a question, then you still had a chance to live. If he attacked without any questions after meeting, then you would already be a dead man. Although Blood Moon Red was only at the 7th level of the body refining realm, in Blood Moon Red's battle records, there were many records of him killing 9th level body refining realm martial artists. After seeing Blood Moon Red's methods, Tang Ao felt that his understanding of the Hidden Dragon Cave's martial artists was far from enough. His understanding of the Hidden Dragon Cave was also insufficient. However, right now, Tang Ao wasn't too interested in the Hidden Dragon Cave. He was only slightly interested in Blood Moon Red. What truly interested Tang Ao was the poison fog canyon that Zhao Tao spoke of. Just now, Zhao Tao had used soul remembrance to inscribe the poison fog canyon. Tang Ao had already perfectly inscribed a copy. Different from other martial artists, Tang Ao was very unfamiliar with Evergreen Valley. This was because after Tang Ao came to the Hidden Dragon Cave, he hadn't gone to Evergreen Valley even once. This time, he ended up going to a dangerous place. Therefore, Tang Ao was very cautious. After all, he wasn't the unparalleled devil lord from his previous life who could kill anyone in his way. Currently, he was a small-body refining realm martial artist that had fallen to Flying Star Continent. Moreover, even at his peak, Tang Ao was far from an old monster like Shi Yunyan. Tang Ao secretly rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, Shi Yunyan could not use his immortal spirit Qi in this place. Otherwise, Shi Yunyan would have already plundered everything in this place. Although Shi Tingyan had not plundered everything clean, Tang Ao felt that with Shi Tingyan's means, he must have plundered a lot of good things after staying here for a long time. Although Tang Ao understood this, he did not dare to have any ideas about Shi Tianyan. Although Shi Tianyan was also in a difficult situation, but as the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Tang Ao felt that he was just a minor character in the body refining realm. It would be better if he didn't provoke Shi Yun, a great deity in the celestial muddy realm. These thoughts flashed through Tang Ao's mind. Then, Tang Ao looked at Zhao Tao again. At this time, Zhao Tao unexpectedly took out a token from his storage ring. After seeing this token, Tang Ao felt that it was very familiar. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao recalled where he had seen this token. Not long ago, Shi Yunyan had told him in his thatched hut that this thing was called a falling star token. According to Shi Yunyan, this falling star token had a total of 8 pieces. As long as one collected all 8 pieces, one could go to the outside world. Others might not know about the so-called outside world, but Tang Ao knew about it. After all, Tang Ao had accidentally entered Flying Star Continent from Ksitigarbha Mausoleum. Previously, Shi Yunyan had said that Tang Ao and the others would obtain these 8 tokens from the 8 major factions in half a year. Tang Ao had originally thought that these 8 tokens would be in the hands of the 8 major factions. Now that he saw this token in this place, Tang Ao suddenly understood that he was still too young. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.